Oh, you know what I love?
Sports.
Love sports.
Sports.
When it comes to
Texas A&M.
Where are you getting this information?
Let me tell you.
Welcome to TexAgs.
TexAgs Live.
I feel like I should be listening to the theme song from the Jeffersons. You know, we're moving on up.
We will develop men, we will graduate players, and we will win championships on the field.
It's a blessing to be in the position, and we're just thankful to be here. We're thankful to have the opportunity to go out there and play in front of the 12 man.
He is a guy that has gotten better and better and better. He's just got that dog in him.
It's been special. The 12th man this past week was unbelievable.
And this is a real program. It's not fake. This is a real place. And if you want to be really good at football, this is a really good place to be.
You know, if I'm betting on anybody, it's the Aggies.
Here we go. Hey, we're just talking about eating hot dogs. Welcome into TexAgs Live, presented by David Gardner's Jewelers, Rollo Insurance Studio, the Go Hour, presented by the Warehouse at CC Creations, Olin Buchanan, David Nuño. Thursday, May the 22nd, 2025, last day of school for a lot of the Brazos Valley kids.
How about that?
College Station, at least. I assume, you know, some of the other areas are, if not today, tomorrow. OB, eating hot dogs, right? Yesterday would have been a great day to be at the ballpark.
Heck yeah.
We had a great day at the office.
Yeah, it looked fun.
It was fun. You were here.
I know, but I was taking the picture. That,
Yeah. It's amazing how when
people like to give you a hard time about how tight your pants are.
Well, I was telling this to Billy the other day. By the way, these are not that freaking tight, guys. Like,
Well, it's not that the pants are tight. It's that the quads are so massive.
no, here's the true story, and not that anybody cares about this. I have fat man legs, skinny upper body. That's a fact. It's always been the case. So jeans either fit me super tight because of some of the jeans are made to be tight. Yes, I recognize that. But jeans have always, my whole life, have either been super tight or so big because I have to buy like 2 sizes too big around the waist.
Yeah.
Like there was a time I had to wear I'm like a 32 waist, and I've had to buy 34, 35 just to be able to fit my legs in because I got fat man legs.
Well, that's not. You're like that guy that
FMLs.
played running back for the Falcons the first time they went to the Super Bowl, and I think they lost to the Broncos, maybe. The first, what was it, Jamal
Anderson, who got in trouble.
Anderson from Utah.
He got arrested for something, didn't he?
Really?
I believe he did.
But he had huge legs.
He did have big legs.
All right.
Big legs here on TexAgs.
That's right.
So, but yeah, people like to give me a hard time. I don't care, because most people who give me a hard time, just saying.
Hey, guys, listen about that picture. We all have, it shows how we have a good time working here at TexAgs and everybody's
community
involved.
effort.
But, you know, like, don't take like a blow-up picture of one girl and say, hey, who's this? You know, it makes you look kind of creepy.
Oh, did that happen too?
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't see that. But there's a lot of creepos in the world.
Yeah, I'm one of them, but I didn't do that.
You do go to the meetings. All right, so let's talk about what happened.
Let's talk about it. What have I been saying?
Well, I don't know where you're going to go with this, but I think you have been saying your stars have got to step up.
And if you're going to make a run, your star players have to play like stars. What did Ryan Prager do?
He was awesome.
What did Jace Lavalette do?
He was. Can I say it again?
Yeah.
Awesome.
So
grand slam.
Grand salami.
Yep. 6-run second inning. Part of that was the Jace Lavalette grand slam.
Yeah.
It was over at that point to me.
Well, it wasn't. To me, it wasn't because I've seen them lose some leads. But
yeah.
Prager pitched so well, and then the bullpen came in and got things done. There were some nice plays made in the field. That they played like a team, like the team they're capable of being.
So true story. I've received texts from several people, and they're all like, do you think they can do it now after one game? And isn't it amazing how one game can change the atmosphere, the mood? Look, they have such a long road to go.
Oh, yeah.
Like, they're just starting, and there's no guarantee that they'll play beyond.
If you get by Auburn today, and maybe Lampkin will pitch like he did the last game at Georgia, when he was, a 3-hit shutout over 9 innings?
15 strikeouts.
Amazing. So maybe you're going to get that from Lampkin again. You know, maybe. But if you get by him, isn't it LSU that's looming next? Is that right?
Yeah.
So it's not easy.
No, but it's not supposed to be easy. But I want it to be easy. I am okay with it being easy.
It's just another example of A, how good these guys can be, that they have the capability, but B, how frustrating that Missouri series was, because he wouldn't even be in this mess if you take care of business against Missouri. And oh, by the way, Mississippi State just pummeled Missouri.
Yeah.
And then you pummeled Mississippi State.
But we as a university, as a program, as a sports community, have too many ifs.
Yeah.
That's been our story. If this, if that.
Did I yeah, because I said if you take
no, but I'm not saying it as an indictment. I'm just
true.
saying this is who we are. Like, this is, unfortunately, the only way to beat that is to
say that's who we were.
And what would it take for you to believe that? A run through this SEC tournament?
And then a strong run through the playoffs.
Yeah.
But, right, you know what? Get by Auburn today. That's all that matters.
The show will end today early at 10:44:30, something like that. I think I'm close on that time. About around 10:45 to get you started with the pregame show on the Zone. So we're going to go to about 10:45. But again, the mood has changed because of that kind of performance. It does not guarantee anything. It doesn't mean a thing. Somebody asked me, are they in now? No, I don't think they're in now. They've got to keep winning.
Yeah, it's kind of like when I was a kid. Look, believe it or not, I was actually kind of smart in school when I was motivated. Mm-hmm. And it used to drive my parents crazy. I'd say, what's the C? What's this C? What's this B minus? Hey, you got an A. See, this is what you're capable of.
Yeah.
Why don't you do this all the time? And I'm like, I don't know. I'm just,
You weren't focused.
I'm Olin. That's why.
Well, look, if we get a good performance from Lampkin, they're going to have enough. If that's the knocking on the door of Jason Laviolette's back, that's it, you know what? They will make a run.
Yeah, I mean, again, if your stars play like stars. And by the way, Lampkin, he showed what the star power that he has.
Yeah.
It's like, do it again, Justin. Do it again.
Keep doing it. Look, I'm going to watch that game. I'm going to be excited about that game, and I'm not going to worry about what's next. I'm going to worry about that game now because I did enjoy yesterday. Yesterday was an enjoyable baseball experience for obvious reasons. We were together, they kicked butt, and the stars showed up.
Now, you know that I've saw this from a lot of the great Aggie fans out there. They want that TexAgs picture again today and everybody in the same spot because, they have that. Remember the guy last year who I wrote about? He was in the toilet when the Aggies started their rally against Oregon, and he stayed there.
On the toilet, courtesy flush, please. Yeah. Anyway, they got to get it done. I hope that they get it done. Can we look? Today's gonna be a lot of baseball. We got some baseball, but I feel like football is getting bigger and bigger. Talking point. It's always big.
99 days away from the opener.
Is it 99 now?
Yesterday was 100.
Down to double digits. Okay, so that's great. But I want to go to a soundbite because we actually talked about this topic yesterday on the show. And I said, if, there's that word again, if Le'Veon Moss is who he was last year. And I said, it's an if because he's coming back from knee injury, right? Mm-hmm. And with knee injuries, you just don't know. I don't think Coach Elko just says things to say things, right? So when asked about Le'Veon Moss, this is what he had to say on TexAgs.
Yeah, he'll be 100% for sure for fall camp. I think he is running. He's here now. Like, he didn't go home for break. He's here continuing to work with our PT department. When you go out there and you watch him run, like, he looks really good right now. And so we're excited with how that rehab process has gone. I think that's probably one of the quieter things that has happened, but like a little bit of a revamp to the training room and adding a full-time physical therapist to football so that, from the second his surgery happens until today, he's been in the hands of a full-time football physical therapist, right? I think that plays a huge role in your ability to recover from those long-term injuries, and hopefully that makes that process a little bit cleaner for us moving forward.
I think that's a very important line there. A full-time PT doctor, by the way. He's a doctor, okay? Do you know his name?
I don't.
Dr. Joe Girardi.
Joe Girardi?
Yeah.
Wasn't he married to Rhoda?
I think he was a manager and a player. Anyway.
Well, there's no TV show from the 70s called Rhoda. And her husband was Joe Girard or Girardi or something. Or Joe Girardi.
Rhoda, who was the main character in Rhoda? Who was like the actress?
Valerie Harper.
That's what I thought. Yeah, I did know that.
But
show.
anyway, Joe Girardi, wasn't that a Yankees manager?
Yeah.
Okay,
Yankees
but now he's a physical therapist. And look, if this guy gets Le'Veon Moss back to the same Le'Veon Moss, then he's bigger than the Yankees manager or the guy who was married to Rhoda.
Look, I need to do a little bit more research on Dr. Girardi, but the Moffitt effect, I think, was and will play a huge part of this season, right? And we talked a lot about that last season heading into it. Maybe the Girardi effect as well, because when you come back from an injury and you have a guy who's dedicated to getting this guy back, it is a dedicated position that not all schools have. Girardi was at Miami before he was at A&M, by the way.
By the way, I have no doubt that Le'Veon Moss was absolutely dedicated to his rehab, because not only does he, want to be good at football and have a career, but he's running with a purpose. He's got to take care of two young boys. You know all about that. Yes,
I do. It changes your focus. It changes your intensity. Here, so if I tell you, you got 100% healthy Le'Veon Moss, Reuben Owens, Amari Daniels.
Yeah, like it.
All right. If that is the case, 100%, what does that tell you about their offense next year?
Well, I think they're going to be able to run the ball, especially with 5 starters coming back in the offensive line. They're going to be able to run the ball. And if you add to me a quarterback that can make you pause on a zone read, and then some speed at receiver where you can't just always cheat the safeties down.
Right.
I think they're going to run the ball. I think they're going to run it very effectively.
You know what?
It's just like last year, but only better.
I think in the next segment we'll have to talk about that quarterback, because there was a question asked about that quarterback, and I think during the event.
Right.
Yeah, during the actual event. So we'll kind of chit-chat a little bit about that. But right now, we want to tell you we're at the Holistic Planning Cool Zone. It's a cool place to be. We're sitting in this little platform as we start every show. Let's go around the room and say hi to the people. If you want to be a part of the conversation, call us up, 979-693-1150. That is the Buppy's Catering hotline. We go behind the glass. We say hi to Nick Savage.
Howdy, good morning, y'all.
Hey, buddy.
Well, yesterday was a fun day. I feel like we got a lot of, a much-needed win. Got to keep winning today, right? Keep the momentum rolling. Got to hear from Coach Elko. That was nice. And got a little basketball. And I'm sure Reese will have a little bit more info on him, so I won't steal his spot. And we'll have Luke on later. But good day for Aggie sports yesterday. I feel like we needed that a little bit.
Did you hear Mike Elko said that they've got 10 to 12 guys that
could be
drafted next year?
You know who actually...
That's both good and bad,
Yeah, because they'll be gone.
Gone.
You know who else said that?
Who else said that?
Billy Lucci, about 2 weeks ago on this show right here. He's like, if you look at the projections, he was talking about because this year 3 guys got drafted, right? It is possible 10 to 12 guys get drafted.
I can see three in the offensive line, without a doubt. I don't know, Bokacher, possibly. Le'Veon Moss, without a doubt.
Casey Concepcion.
There's 6 of them.
Right.
In the defense,
Will Lee.
Both linebackers, definitely Will Lee and Cassius Howell, and maybe you sprinkle in, one of the new defensive linemen.
Yep. So that's how you get to that number.
That tells me they ought to be pretty good.
Yeah. Let's go to the Angry Elephant News and Social Center. Reese Nygren in the house. Reese, hey, buddy.
Hey, how are you?
You want an actual answer?
He's good because the Aggies won yesterday.
You've been working here, 10 days, something like that, right?
Yeah, since last Wednesday, so.
I'm very moody, okay, when it comes to Aggie sports, and it does affect my day when I talk about it, right? So right now I'm in a very good mood, even though I'm giving you these intense eyes.
Yeah, I'm in a good mood, too, and I feel like a lot of Aggie fans are.
Woo.
Aggie basketball fans are also in a good mood. Last night, former USC and Bowling Green forward Rashawn Agee committed to Bucky McMillan and Texas A&M, averaged 9.4 points and 4.5 rebounds with 1.5 steals and blocks per game last year. Shot 39% from 3.
Okay.
Averaged 13 and 10 his redshirt sophomore year at Bowling Green, which earned him second-team All-MAC honors. Has 9 career 20-plus point games. He's the 9th player to commit to Texas A&M, who boasts the 26th best transfer portal class, headlined by Rylan Griffin and Indiana transfer Mackenzie Mbako. A&M's transfer class ranks above schools like Tennessee, Kansas, and UConn.
Obi, growing up, I used to play video games and do it like Dynasty mode and like draft players and teams. So on Madden, on NBA Live, these games, right? And I would pick, and sometimes I didn't know how they would fit because it was a game, it was a video game, it didn't matter, right? But I would do this. I feel like Bucky's kind of doing something similar, like because he has to. He's getting to pick these guys, and I'm looking at these numbers and the size, 6'8", 6'9", like they're going to be a big team. They got some guys that can shoot the three. They got the guys that can move. Like I haven't seen the product together. None of us have, right? But like super intrigued by the addition so far. Yeah,
I'm going to be speaking with Bucky next Tuesday morning
in Destin,
Florida, at the SEC spring meetings. And the question I want to ask him is, okay, because we know fans can have crazy expectations. I want to say, we don't know how these players are going to mesh, but hey, coach, what as a coach would you project to be a reasonable expectation for next year with these guys? And I'd really be interesting to see what he'd have to say about that.
Well, and I think talent is one thing. Coming together is a different thing, right? So like Coach Elko yesterday had a soundbite about the culture, and it's taking some time to get their way here. I think basketball is you can kind of go through that a little bit faster because fewer players. And if you got a guy who can score, you put some people around him, a lot of things can happen. It seems like they have a lot of guys that can put the ball in the bucket.
Yeah, and that's what Bucky wants. He wants guys like buckets for Bucky.
Buckets for Bucky.
Anything else, Reese?
Y'all had mentioned about if your stars show up for baseball.
Right.
Last night, the bottom three of the order, Royo, Keel, and Farr, went 6 for 12.
They all had multiple hits, right?
Yes, I believe they all had multiple hits. 5 runs scored, 3 RBIs, and 2 stolen bases amongst the three of them.
I like the fact that they were running more yesterday.
Yeah. It was good to watch. It puts me in a good mood. I might be in a bad mood tomorrow, but right now I'm in a good mood. I might be in a great mood tomorrow.
You might be in a great mood.
Listen, you know what? Instead of always looking for something to be angry about, we as a society, as an Aggie nation, should find the happiness.
I want to see him partying his Cuban ass off tomorrow.
I want to party my Cuban ass off with. I'm trying to think what I would have.
A mojito? Of course not. It has
David,
alcohol
I think
in it.
that's the first time I've heard you curse on air in my 4 years
Is
working
ass
with
a
you.
curse word anymore?
Yeah, I think it is.
It is. It's in the Bible.
Yeah. Well. Yeah. I apologize for that. I had a good streak going. It was a
I
good
don't
run.
apologize.
It was a good run. Anywho, let's do this. Let's hit a break. If you want to be part of the conversation, we mentioned it to you. 979-693-1150. That's the Bucky's Catering hotline. I want to talk now about Rollo Insurance. They take care of me. Rollo Insurance is great, and they should take care of you. You can get a personal agent with a direct number, not a call center, not an automated system, somebody that you can call. I call Morgan all the time. In fact, yesterday Elizabeth and I were talking about calling up Morgan because the boys, they'll be 39 when they get their driver's license, but they are about to be 17. They have completed their driver's ed. They're about to take their test, and I'm like, okay, I've been delaying it because I don't want to, I don't want to do this.
Yeah.
I don't want to but it's coming, and I know Rollo's going to get me in the right place. They have the difference is real. 60 offices in the great state of Texas, auto, home, business, ranch. You can start a relationship with an expert who puts you first. That's the Rollo difference. Call them up, 888-44-ROLLO, 888-44-ROLLO, or go to rolloinsurance.com/TexAgs.
What's up, TexAgs? This commercial break is brought to you by my good friends over at Aggieland Chevrolet, the official automotive sponsor of TexAgs.com and me, Billy Lucci. Greg Gunn is the proud owner of Aggieland Chevrolet and invites you to visit the dealership to experience true Aggie hospitality. From their friendly staff to the experienced service team, Aggieland Chevrolet is TexAgs approved. Check out the dealership off of Highway 6 in Bryan or go to AggielandChevrolet.com and tell them Billy Lucci sent you by.
And we're back here on TexAgs Live. I'm just trying to look up some information. OB David Nuño here on a Thursday. So Matthew Dawson came in during the break, and he said, hey, do you want an example of some of Dr. Joe Girardi's good work?
Yeah.
And he gave me an example. Donald Chaney, who played at the University of Miami, tore his ACL. And I wish Dawson was here. He could probably maybe hop on Nick's mic to kind of tell us. But the story goes, he got him rehabbed, came back, and he's still playing football. He's now the running back for Louisville. So he's got him. Have Matthew kind of explain that to the audience so we can kind of just have a better feel for that story. Go ahead, Matthew.
Look, Donald Chaney was a pretty highly rated recruit for Miami at running back, but sophomore year 2021, he tore his ACL pretty bad, like early in the season. And then 2022, he had like another kind of like lower body injury that kind of kept him out all year, different than the knee. But then a year later, 2023, didn't really start because they had like good running backs in that room. Fast forward to this past season, he averaged 5 yards a carry, right? So recovering from that knee injury and the lower body injury, 2 years later is averaging 5 yards a carry, transfers to Louisville with Jeff Brom. He's going to be the starting running back there. So just a story of a success in terms of rehabilitation for the running back position, which Le'Veon Moss is.
Now, is this a new thing with getting a physical therapist?
I think some teams have had it for a little while. Like, I mean, the Miami story goes back 4 or 5 years. He, according to the Texas A&M athletics page, he joined the program in the summer of 24 last year. So it's right. About to be a year.
Well, I'll just say this. If Le'Veon Moss there's that if word again. So when Le'Veon Moss goes out and proves that he's the same running back he was last year, then it'll be absolute proof that this physical therapist is worth the money.
So a couple things that I think the reason teams are moving in this direction is not just for coming back from injuries. Actually, a lot of it is for injury prevention.
Prevention.
So and performance enhancement. So yes, come back, but can we avoid some of these issues? And also, can we take your game to another level?
And it sounds like this guy's specifically for football.
Yeah.
If I saw a physical therapist for a problem that I have, what this guy does is, I guess, more expertise in and come back from football-related injuries.
Right.
And, so outstanding. Look, let's see what happens with Le'Veon. Again, if he's back and the same guy he was, then you got one of the best running backs in the country.
Yeah, one of the best running backs in the country that when he played with this team, they were basically 7-1. You can say 7-2 because they lost the game that he got hurt in on the second drive. But they were 7-1 with Le'Veon Moss.
Yeah, but he got hurt at the end of a 20-yard game.
Yeah. That's true. But if you remember that game, it felt like they had nothing going. Yeah, and then they had in the beginning, and they had that play happen. Yes, they're back. Oh, he's hurt.
But do they get those 1 yard first downs?
That's exactly a conversation I had yesterday with somebody. I was actually with Bob Loop at BVMMA, where he had read that, hey, I see a couple people have A&M at 10-2. Why are people making that case? And my explanation was, last year they could have been 10-2. Now, could have is not good enough, and a lot of teams can say that. I recognize that, right? But this team, were they going to lose that game with Le'Veon if he doesn't get hurt? I don't know. You can't guarantee anything in that game. The offense made a little run after he got hurt, and then they were completely shut down.
Yeah. But you want to be at your best.
He was their best offensive player, if not their best player overall.
Typically, not always, but I'd say 90% of the time, and this is a no kidding statement. If you show me a team that wins a championship, I'll show you a team that's avoided costly injuries.
Yep.
And unfortunately, A&M has not been able to avoid costly injuries since 2020, really.
Yeah. I do want to hit on something because I think the Le'Veon injury is a reason for the next bite from Coach Elko, but it's not the reason or the main reason. It is a reason. And he says, we're excited to get out there and finish. He said this to the group yesterday at Coach's Night. We didn't finish the way we wanted to in November. That's been our mantra this offseason. And that it is not the reason. There's not a singular reason, but a big reason was Le'Veon Moss. The other is injury. The other big reason was
the
defense.
Defense, specifically their pass defense.
He says there, we understand how we finished this year. We played 3 bad games of defense to finish the year. We are well aware of that. That's not how we want to play defense at Texas A&M. We have to be better. We have to have a better commitment for getting the job done at a higher level.
See, and that's what I like about Elko. And I don't mean to always be slamming on Jimbo, because I actually liked Jimbo. I really did. But I'm not hearing, hey, we're that close. I'm not hearing, we just got to find the inches. I'm hearing, we failed here. And this is what we got to do about it. It's not, oh, yeah, we're just, just this close.
Yeah.
I got to coach better. No kidding. We got to find the inches. No, just tell me, look, this is what we did wrong. I'm telling you, I'm acknowledging it, and this is what we're going to do about it.
Yep. Let's before we hit a break here, let's hear from Coach Elko. No, actually, let's not hear from Coach Elko. That's the other bite. Let's do this. Let's hit a break. When we come back, we're going to have Esteban McGee. Is he in the building? Do we know, Nick? Either way, we're going to have Stephen McGee on the other side. Right now, though, if you're looking for a reason to move back to Aggie Land, or you are already in Aggie Land and you want a good opportunity to work at a great place, that's the Association of Former Students. They're looking to hire professionals in many, many different areas. It could be fundraising, it could be in communications, it could be in sales, marketing, you name it. They typically have a lot of openings. It's a great place to go work. They're the premier alumni association, and they will play a part in every Aggie story from Howdy to here. Don't miss opportunities to help out the association with Howdy Socials, Aggie Rain Day, class reunions, and everything in between. Join a team that exemplifies those Aggie core values of excellence, integrity, leadership, loyalty, respect, and selfless service, all in support of that worldwide Aggie network. So if you're interested in joining a team or sharing with someone that would be a great fit, please visit tx.ag/association jobs to apply and get more information on each position. It is the Association of Former Students. And we're back. TexAgs Live, presented by David Gardner's Jewelers Rollo Insurance. Studio Go Hour, presented by The Warehouse at CC Creations. Our QB1, Stephen McGee, with us here from Paragon Financial. What's up, Stephen?
Morning.
How are you?
Say it again.
Guayavera.
Guayavera.
Guayavera, what?
Guayavera?
Yeah, that's better. Guayavera.
Guayavera. I like the shirt. OB. And then you got Savage in the back with boots, Wranglers, and his belt on today, looking sharp. Man, the TexAgs crew came to work today.
Yeah. Finally got a haircut, so now I don't have the comb over that we were talking about last week. So we're all cleaning up.
Y'all are, man, I'm telling you, it's hard to keep up around here. Have you guys ever looked into Wikipedia? So just talking about this in the back. Wikipedia, it's like the internet picks a photo for you, essentially. And the internet has chosen the absolute worst photo possible out there for me. And my wife was trying to change it. And it's this whole process of, going through all these steps to try to change your photo.
We're all checking right now.
it's terrible.
That's not a terrible photo. It's not your best photo, but it's.
But what is that? Why? You go look, Google Billy Lucci or something. I don't know.
He doesn't have a Wikipedia page.
You could have any photo, right? And that's the one. And so it came up because
a bunch of photos of you.
My buddy had a birthday party. Wife made some birthday cups, and they put this photo on the side of it, said happy whatever birthday. And we're like, where did you find this photo? He goes, Wikipedia. I'm like, there's no way that's your Wiki. Sure as heck is. It's awful.
Well, my all-time favorite picture of McGee.
Oh, this is really good.
There it is.
Oh, yeah.
Halloween.
Oh, yeah. It's my wife's favorite, too.
Hamilton Tiger Cats.
Gotta have the beard, man.
Gotta have the beard.
The old Grizz look.
Yeah,
could barely get a chin strap around that beard.
Stephen, we're talking about what ifs with A&M football because that's all we have right now. Ifs, right? And one of the things Mike Elko said last night at the Brazos County Coaches Night, Marcel's development is what I'm most excited about. His development as a leader and in the passing game is important. He was a great player last year, but you'll see a significantly better version of him this fall. If that's the case,
what's the old line? You're telling me there's a chance?
No, there's more than it's a bit better than a bit mean one.
But you know what, Stephen? I think there's a real opportunity, not just because of Marcel, but yes, because of Marcel. I think the quarterback chairs in the SEC this year are completely open. Like Lenore Sellers might be the best. Nussmeier might be in that. And although Lenore's destroyed A&M last year, he was the reason South Carolina was so dominant.
Could not tackle that guy.
But I don't see him as a top of a conference quarterback. Maybe I'm wrong right now. Arch could be that guy. But there's a lot of could be's, but there's no like.
The Florida kid is a talented player.
He's
Could
just
be.
Could be.
Could be. Well, did we have this conversation last year, though? I felt like going into last year, we were like, you know what? It's kind of an open race because no one is a solidified starter.
I thought, and I was wrong, I thought Connor Wigman was going to be one of the better quarterbacks in the SEC last year.
Yeah,
I thought it was all set up for him to have a great year.
Yeah, I did. Could be, and it wasn't, right? And so it's an imperfect world. I think quarterback, obviously, you live and die, right?
Yeah.
You can't not have a great head coach. You can't not have a great quarterback and expect to win, especially in modern sports, modern football, both at the college and NFL level. You got to have a great quarterback. It's the linchpin of everything you do. But you also have to have pieces around the quarterback that allow them to play to the level that they're capable of. And that includes other things, not just players. Offensive line should be really good.
Yes.
Running back should be really good. Wide receivers, hopefully improved. I think we saw a little bit in the spring game, some guys making some really good catches, but we don't really fully know until we line up against good DBs. And then the last part of the equation is, I think, year two with an offensive coordinator that knows kind of what you like to do, y'all kind of figuring each other out, getting comfortable in the system, talking the same language. I think all those pieces come together, and you got a kid that's going to, what is he turning, 21 this year?
Yeah.
I mean,
he's a kid.
Yeah, he's a kid. So, I mean, he could take a huge leap.
So
he could.
I'm going to bring up.
Could be.
I don't want to stay too much on this quarterback talk because there's some other stuff that came out of yesterday, but I do want to bring this up. Brad Crawford, a couple weeks back, did a list of ranking your quarterbacks. And tell me who knocks your socks off, all right? His number one quarterback.
He doesn't even have socks on.
Well, that's why. Garrett Nussmeier. We saw a very good him and a very rough him.
I love Nussmeier.
Better than Danny Etling.
I knew that was coming. It always will, right? Yeah. Thankfully.
But
I don't regret saying it just because we have that to always go back to.
If Nuss is your number one, okay, I think he can play like a number one.
I think he doesn't have as high of a ceiling as some guys in the conference, but he's very, very talented. He's got an NFL skill set, but I think he has NFL caliber guys around him, which sets up well.
I think if you wanted to be safe in ranking quarterbacks, first you'd put Nussmeier, second you'd put Sellers, third you'd probably put Arch, and fourth you'd probably put Lagway.
So they have it as Arch number 2 on here. Okay. Number 3, Sellers, right? And I think that's and Arch is based on the hype that we've heard.
It's the name, it's the brand. Because when he was out there last year against Law Tech, he had 2 interceptions against a terrible football team, or Law Monroe, whoever it was, and looked very hot and cold. And then goes out in meaningful snaps against Georgia, and that was a quick axe. Did not see the field, took a bad sack versus a hot defense. There's some big question marks still. I mean, he's talented, sure, but there's a lot of talented players out there. The question is, when the lights come on, can you make fast, quick decisions to be accurate with the football?
Of the top 4, and Lagway's number 4, the 2 that scare me in a game are Lagway and Sellers. Arch might scare me. I just haven't seen enough. But those are the 2 that scare us.
I'm buying Sellers.
Right? John Mateer at Oklahoma, number 5.
This guy, he may be.
He might.
But what has he really done to say that this guy's an elite quarterback?
Yeah, he did well at Washington State. But you can say, well, Cam Moore did well at Washington State, and then he went to the.
Yeah.
But you got to do it against, elite SEC teams.
Yeah, I hate anointing people before they've even taken a snap.
I agree.
And that's the problem with this kid, and, well, not him as much as Arch. Arch really hasn't done anything except be a Manning.
Well, wait. Now, let's be fair. When he started, he was...
mixed results.
Right. But when he came in specific instances like against A&M, he ran for a 15-yard touchdown.
True, but there's no pressure in that.
Right. But it's kind of like, it was the same thing for Tim Tebow when he was a freshman. And everybody said, he won 2 national championships.
Exactly.
When all he did was come in and start, and Chris Leak won the championship.
Yeah.
Bobby at number 6, by the way.
Just a scrappy winner. Not an incredibly talented kid, but man, he can win football games.
He quarterbacked Vanderbilt to a victory over Alabama. Yeah. That's all I got to say.
And I didn't want to make this a quarterback ranking thing, but I'm bringing it up. I think it is wide open. Austin Simmons 7, Taylor
My dark
Green
horse,
8.
Austin Simmons.
By the way, they have Marcel at 11. Others have Marcel at 6.
I say good.
Good. That's great. Good. Put us at the bottom. You know what? The best thing that can happen to A&M is put A&M, if there's 20 teams in the SEC, put them at 20.
I want to
make them hungry.
Yeah, fly a stealth bomber. You don't see them coming and they blow up your ass.
Yeah, exactly. Like, let's be the dark horse. Look at what's happened to all our A&M sports teams that are number 1. That's the recipe for disaster. There's so much pressure on these kids already. Let them come in a dark horse. Make them hungry. In the
Secretariat was a dark horse.
Amen. Well, there ain't nothing wrong with being 11 on the list.
Praise Jesus.
It's a show me.
Hey. Sorry. I thought I was at church. That's good. So the other thing I wanted to bring up with you, because all this is connected to what he said about Le'Veon Moss yesterday, and I don't know if you heard it on your way in, but he said Le'Veon will be 100% when the season starts.
Oof. Boy, if he is, that dog can haunt. If Le'Veon Moss is 100% and he's the way he ran and played last year, there are no questions about that guy.
Yeah, I mean, he is an elite running back. He is he's all SEC last year and missed 4 games. And everybody said, okay, there's no doubt about this guy. I mean, imagine, he ran for 750 yards. Imagine if he gets to play New Mexico State.
Yeah.
And Auburn. And the whole game against South Carolina.
Oh,
and even Texas.
Dog.
Man, he's going to run for 1,200 yards.
Man, he's just something different about that guy.
Yes. Yeah.
You almost know you're going to get positive yards. He keeps your team in front of the chains. Patience as a runner. Runs with purpose. He's got breakaway speed. He's not a big, strong guy between the tackles that really can't make explosive plays outside. Man, and then he gets it done in the pass game. I mean, that's the other thing people often forget about for running backs is how good is this kid whenever the ball's not in his hands? Yeah. How good are you going to be on 3rd down as a pass blocker? How smart are you going to be to know, hey, this is scat protection. I've got to go Will to free safety. Now I'm tracking back the other side. Like the alertness and the understanding, because that difference, even though as a fan, you're like, oh, he didn't even touch the football. But knowing that he's got to track back across the ball to pick up a strong safety, blitzing off the edge to allow your quarterback time to get the ball, that's the difference in a touchdown and a sack.
Yeah. I mean, he's just such a good player. I remember that run he had against Florida. David was sick, so he may not have remembered it. But he goes into the line, and it's all bottled up, and then all of a sudden he just breaks out and he goes for 20 yards. I mean, that's the kind of run. The 75-yard touchdown against Missouri, that's not going to happen a lot. Yeah. But those breaking through for 20 yards, that's going to happen a lot.
Yeah.
So, Stephen, sound bites are just that. They're just sound bites. They don't mean anything. But the couple things from yesterday that to me stand out. First off, I don't think he's going to say Le'Veon will be 100% if he doesn't really believe Le'Veon will be 100%. The other thing is they talk about their mantra of being about finishing. And that was the issue last year. They didn't finish games. They didn't finish the season.
Yep.
And if they can correct that, we're talking about a different level of season.
Talking about an SEC champion.
Let's talk about it.
I mean, that's the difference, right? I would talk about finishing too.
He pointed out they have 16 starters back. And again, this was a team that going in November was the only unbeaten team in SEC play, and had dealt with a lot of injuries.
Yeah.
And still, should have won. I know, could have, should have, right. At least one more game, and it would have been. You show anybody anywhere else, you show me a team that had they beaten Auburn. Okay, I'm always going to put that caveat. Was a 9-win team with 16 starters back, including the quarterback, and most people will say that's a top 10 team.
Yeah. Well, hey, can I be thankful for a second and say I'm glad that we're not hopefully ranked in the top 10 going into the year? I hope we're not even in the top 25.
I just don't ever want to be 25. I just don't ever want to be ranked 6th. Every time A&M's ranked 6th, it falls apart. 6 is like a bad number for A&M.
Yeah.
Because it's only half of 12, you're halfway to 12.
Let's hit a break. We'll come back with a little buy, sell, lease. Right now, we're talking about Heritage Films. They're preserving family stories that would otherwise be lost. My buddy Chance McClain runs the company. He's the founder. He does such a great job. He isn't just making documentaries. He's capturing people's stories, family business, family ranch. They've started farm and ranch films now. They can tell that story, preserve what your ranch is all about for the future generations, telling your father's story, your uncle's story, whoever it may be. These are Netflix quality films that you're going to just absolutely love. You will regret it if you don't capture these stories now, because eventually it's too late. The number is 713-893-8341. That number again, 713-893-8341. YourHeritageFilm.com is the website. It's not just a service. It's a time machine for your family's most precious memories. It's Heritage Films. Let's talk a little Snaps clothing. David Nuño here, and I love wearing Snaps clothing everywhere. I've got the flannel on right now. You've seen me in the Tailgater collection with the A&M gear. It is fantastic. If you see me around town with my sons, Christian and Cruz, they've got a bunch of Snaps gear. When they have big games for Consol, they wear nice clothes, so they wear their Snap stuff. And I'm telling you, with baseball season here, let's all kind of go looking stylish and fit to the games there at Olsen wearing the Snaps clothing. As a reminder, they are the only official licensed Texas A&M Pearl Snaps maker out there. Their Tailgater collection is built for game day with breathable, moisture-wicking fabrics to keep you comfortable while you rep your Aggies in style. Now, whether you're watching the game from home or maybe you're in attendance, you're tailgating, whatever it may be, you got to make sure you head to snapsclothing.com to see everything they have to offer. It is fashionable, it is awesome, and you're going to love it. TexAgs Live, presented by David Gardner's Jewelers, Rollo Insurance Studio Go Hour, presented by The Warehouse at CC Creations. Props to Matthew Dawson.
When I saw him in the back row today, I knew that this was going to be an easy task because he's obviously the Mensa child. He could probably have some trading algorithm for betting right now and make $1 billion.
He already does.
Yeah.
So
what he lacks in height, he's made up with in brain power.
He changed Steven's picture on Wikipedia already, so now it's the Cowboys picture, which is a great picture, by the way. But there's going to be some office robbery happening soon. There's an intern who started today. His name is Jake. Just as smart, maybe smarter. Maybe smarter.
How do you? What kind of test?
What am I doing working here all of a sudden? It's Mensa.
So right now, Matthew's like, hey, I'm going to mentor him and take it. It could be, I think, see a rivalry developing of the smarts.
Well, can you imagine the two of them get together?
That Russian dude playing chess against each other.
Yeah, can we? That'd be a great live feed for the summer.
That would be.
The two of them going at it, some Mensa contest. I don't know. That doesn't even enter my mind. All I can think about is golf and
I can
hunting.
see that happening here. All kinds of things like that's always happening. The other day they were asking me to take a purity test.
I need to know more about it. Don't stop there. Keep going.
They asked me one question and said, okay, you failed.
Well, what is it?
Well,
we can't do it on the air.
Oh, we can't do that?
We can't do it on the air. No.
I have no idea what this is. Now I'm just...
Hey, so Matt Rule...
That's just the way we've got things like that going on in TexAgs.
Matt Rule was kind of joking tongue-in-cheek, but they were asking about the playoffs and yada, yada, yada with potential expansion. He goes, make that thing 40 and let's go. He said, the more sports, the better, man. Make that thing 40, let's go. You're talking about a league that we play 9 conference games where others play 8, so it puts an automatic disadvantage.
Oh, that's such
that's Matt Rule on it. But it brought me up to this buy-sell lease. This is a one that we've probably done in the past, but I'm going to ask you why, Stephen. What do you like better for the playoff? 8-team, 12-team, 16-team playoff, buy-sell lease?
I like 12 at least. I don't mind the idea of, honestly, I think 12 probably better than 16 because it gives teams that win the conference championship hopefully an off week where you shouldn't be penalized. I think this was the big discussion last year where teams could potentially be penalized for playing in the conference championship. Yep. And so they deserve, if they're having to play an extra game, expose guys to injuries, they should get a week off if you win it. I don't know. I think 12 is a good number.
So you're buying 12?
I think I'm buying 12. What do you think? It's a hard one.
Yeah, I've talked about this before. I'm buying 8. And I'll tell you why. Because if you had only 8 teams, you say your conference champion gets an automatic bid. But there's only 4 other spots out there. One's probably going to go to Notre Dame. Some years, one's going to go to a group of 5. It makes the conference championship so crucial to win. Now they're even talking about, is it possible you even do away with the conference champions? So 8, I would go with. I would sell 12, and I'll tell you why. I don't think it's fair if you're trying to win a national championship that one team or 4 teams only have to play 3 games, and other teams have to play 4 to win the national championship. I don't think that's fair.
Yeah.
So if I had my druthers, it'd be 8. I would lease 16 and sell 12.
I like it. My argument against it is that if you're going to allow teams like Boise State into it, in my opinion, the world of Boise State back in the day when they defeated Oklahoma in the Fiesta Bowl, I think the level of parity in college football is quickly going away, where it's going to be concentrated. I don't think you're going to see fewer teams. Like in basketball this year, it was all 1 seeds basically. I think in football, you're going to see all the majors competing for the championship. And so if you're going to allow those teams in, I think that a team that's a 2-loss team that barely got eliminated from the SEC championship deserves to be in there because on any given day, they could beat the best team.
So one of the things Feinbaum said, I think last week, was that the SEC championship game doesn't mean anything anymore because Texas lost it. It didn't matter. They were still, a play away from potentially winning. And Georgia, who won it, would have traded places with Texas because they got eliminated quicker.
And I totally agree. I think we should go to a big major conference of 50 teams that have the ability to afford NIL and compete where it's across the board an equal playing field for those 50 or 40. It's not going to be equal, but it'll be relatively equal. And then no conference championship and just rotate. You don't like it?
I just don't like the idea that you don't have conference championships, because that should mean something.
We got to drop it there. Yeah. Gentlemen, thank you very much. All right, when we come back, Jake Wimberly talking about his CFB Hourglass SEC. We'll talk about that next on TexAgs Live. As there was any doubt, Justin Lampkin will be projected starter tonight. I think or this afternoon, this mid-morning, whatever you want to call it, at 11 a.m. Looking at the game notes, he is on there, and Bronny was speculating to that yesterday. So it looks like he will be the starter. Welcome back to TexAgs Live. We are presented by David Gardner's Jewelers. We're in the Rollo Insurance Studio. We've got a lot of football to get into here this segment because, look, let's be honest about it. There's a lot of projection models out there, some good for A&M, some bad. And we're going to talk to an expert who's got his own model talking about A&M. It's Around College Football, presented by Milliken Reserve, a College Station community featuring homes, trails, farms, and wide open spaces with a mission to build a healthy community around nature. Take part in the Milliken Reserve community with a Conservancy membership. Learn more at millikenreserve.com. With that, we go to the Buppy's Catering Hotline. We're joined by Jake Wimberly. You can check out his work at cfbhourglass.com. Jake, thanks for joining us, man.
Good morning. How are you, sir?
I'm great. So let's I kind of want to talk because I know you have different things that you put through your model. Some of it's, quarterback rankings, player rankings. You also have projections for wins. How do you what can you tell us about how you put your model together?
Yeah, and I appreciate you having me on. And hopefully you can hear me okay. So, been doing this for about 10 years. And again, it's not necessarily unique. It's unique to me. As you referenced, there's a lot of great people out there that do these models. Kelly Ford is a friend of mine. He's in the Northeast or Midwest. He does them. Dave Bartu, I've known for a long time out of Oregon. He does this. So a lot of different people. Bill Conley, formerly of SB Nation with ESPN. For me, as a former, just to put this out here, just tell you kind of the dorkiness in it is I'm a former engineer, civil engineer, minored in mathematics, went to Mississippi State, then had a midlife crisis, got into multimedia sports years ago. So here we are. But the love for numbers, just to say, hey, can we project an event, a football game through numbers, kind of the football version of Moneyball, if you remember the baseball movie Moneyball about the Oakland A's. So for me, I look at a couple things. One, I look at a talent metric. We know it's about the Jimmies and Joes, right? I mean, you got to have the guys out there on the field on Saturdays and Thursdays and Fridays to make it happen. And used to, that was very easy to quantify because, you would take your composite recruiting rankings, which have gotten much better with Rivals or 247 or On3 or pick your outlet. And then if Texas A&M has, 4 straight years of number 1 in the country or number 2 in the country, then odds are they probably got the number 1 talent metric in the country. It's changed a little bit, obviously, the last couple of years with the transfer portal. So what I've tried to do is kind of put it on a 2-year rotator on high school talent. And then also you have to factor in the transfer portal, which is kind of a moving scale right now. So talent is one metric that we look at. It's the second metric you reference is quarterback play. This is returning quarterback play. So, you may see a guy, for instance, in my SEC rankings of quarterbacks, just say DJ Lagway, which I've gotten a lot of, smoke as it always happens with Florida for having him down the rankings, but we haven't seen a whole lot of DJ Lagway. So there's a lot of, on-field production that goes into the quarterbacks. Thirdly, coaches. Some people do assistant coaches. I think that's a little tough to do. Just my take on that. But I kind of count the coach as a CEO of a program, a CEO of a business. I use that on a 3-year scale because a coach can change drastically in 3 years. We've seen that. I mean, just look at Mike Norvell down at Florida State. I mean, he went from 5-7 to 13-1 to 2-10. So, things can really change. So I use a 3-year scale on a coach, not necessarily a career type of scale like some. Wide receiver is a big deal for me. I think the wide receiver position, we know this, I call it impact ball catcher metric, is very important. What does your wide receiver room look like? And then offensive and defensive scoring efficiency, because you can use offensive and defensive scoring efficiency almost as a stock market watch during the season. And, the numbers show if you're not inside the top 15 to 17 by the end of the year or the last month of the year in offensive and defensive scoring efficiency, and you go check it, check my work or check the work on it for the last 15 to 20 years, you don't have a shot at the national championship. The only team or two that has broken that barrier is Cam Newton and Auburn did it back in 2010. They had a defense that was sitting around 23-24. And then I believe either one of the Oregon teams or you'd have to go back to Nebraska in the early 2000s. So you take all of those numbers, you put them in a hopper, and you get a power ranking for the teams. And with those numbers, I can formulate Vegas lines. We do a lot here in Mississippi with sports gaming, and then we can project teams, win and loss records as well. Sometimes we hit, sometimes we lose. 2 years ago, pegged Michigan to win the national title in March and that was good. Last year, pegged Oregon. They got knocked out in the first round. So it's a give and take.
Yeah. So I want to talk a little bit about from year 1 to year 2, or let's say it's like Texas, LSU. Well, let's go with Texas for a minute. They lose a lot of talent. Yet I think you have them going 12-0. And I'm just trying to understand A&M, which I think you have going 10-2, brings back a lot of talent, right? So, how do you decipher that based on guys that have not played very much, or at least in that system?
No, and that's a fair question, and we'll get into some of the teams for the time that we have here. Texas, yes, I have going 12-0. There are about 3 or 4 what I call one possession ball games. That thing could flip on them pretty quickly, and we can get into that. But some people quantify returning starters. I'm not a big returning starters guy. At quarterback, I am, and here's why. Several years ago, we saw Vanderbilt. They returned 18 returning starters. That looks really good on paper. They went 2-10. We've seen over the years, you'll see some of these articles that will come out. Well, Ohio State, Alabama only returned 20% of their returning production. I think if you recruit at a high level, you kind of regen that talent quicker and better. And for Texas and what Steve Sarkisian has done as far as the way they have recruited, and we know is very good. Also, the transfer portal work that he has put in and his ability to maneuver that and find the right pieces. I just don't see. I trust the model to say, hey, look, this is kind of a machine here that is going to regenerate itself.
All right, so Texas A&M got them 10-2. What goes into their 10-2? And I'm just curious if you remember, what did you have them doing last year?
Let's see. I can go back if you can give me. Let me see if I can find 2024's sheets real quickly. And let's look. 2024 and my latest. Let me see.
And I got to assume 24 is hard to do with a brand new coach. And that you also can't predict the quarterback shuffle that A&M went through.
Yeah, quarterback shuffle there, and then also, obviously Elko had some numbers coming out of Duke. So when a coach changes like that, you really just have to, use those types of numbers. I had Texas A&M going 9-3 last year,
and they should have. They should have.
Absolutely. Yeah, I have them going 9-3 last year. And then you look at the Aggies, that stretch run, we all know there were conversation pieces where we said, hey, Texas and Texas A&M may be playing for the SEC championship. So, I had them going 9-3. But again, there's some one possession ball games in there. I had them losing to Notre Dame early. Did not have Notre Dame losing to NIU. I don't know that anybody did. But yeah, I was high on the Aggies last year. I think when you look at the talent that Texas A&M we know has recruited, and you look at, obviously some of that talent kind of, you go back to that Jimbo Fisher class that was, at the time, the best class that it had ever been in college football. And there was some attrition there. Outside of that, Texas A&M has always recruited dudes. I look at their talent metric inside, let me find it real quick, inside the conference. And, they're sitting there, 5, 6, 7. I think they're 8th on my list this year. But now, when you see these numbers, like Texas A&M's recruiting metric is 85.5, Texas is 92.6. To keep that into context, that's really only about 2 or 3 guys. It really is. It's 2 or 3 guys. It's when both teams get off the bus, if they swapped jerseys, you wouldn't know the difference in the way they look. So, talent metric, they're there. I think Elko is there. The coaching staff is there. Quarterback is going to be the big key. How good is Marcel Reed? Is he the guy that popped off against LSU last year? Is he a different kind of quarterback now that we've seen him? So, I think if he is that guy against LSU, that bodes well. That's for Texas A&M. That's one of the things we don't know about the quarterbacks inside the Southeastern Conference. I think this year is the Southeastern Conference on my scale, and it's not by a whole lot, has the worst collective group of quarterbacks in the Power Four.
Wow.
The ACC has the best. And it's just because going into the season, there's not a lot of guys that we know a whole lot about. We know a little bit about Arch Manning, but we're projecting that he's going to be, a Heisman guy. So is Vegas. We know a lot about Garrett Nussmeier at LSU, but you can go down this list. Diego Pavia, we know a lot about, but there's just a lot of guys that we don't know about.
Let's go back to the one possession games, and that's what A&M played last year. A lot of SEC teams did, and how close they were. But when your projections have them going 10-2, and I think about road games to South Bend, to Austin, to Baton Rouge, like for them to be a big boy program, and excuse the term big boy program, but they're going to have to win 1 or 2 of those away games. So where do you have the 2 losses, and maybe what are some marquee wins?
Sure. No, I have them obviously going 2-0 out the gate against UTSA and Utah State. At Notre Dame, I have them with a close one possession type win, just because I look at the I've got Notre Dame in the playoff, but I think the attrition there. They're breaking in a new quarterback as well. I like Texas A&M a little bit in that ball game. After the bye week, I have them winning what I would consider a close ball game against Auburn, beating Mississippi State. It's great to have Florida at home, beating Florida, and then winning at Arkansas. I have a close loss at LSU. And then I've also got a close loss at Texas. For Texas A&M, I mean, a lot of their games, and I tell everybody all the time, don't ever apologize for your schedule. If it's a weaker schedule than some, then that's great. If you get home field games that more so than the road, that's great. But I mean, Texas A&M having South Carolina, also Florida, Auburn, all at home. That is a big deal for them, but they just have to protect that home field.
All right, so let's go through some of these teams, and I do want to focus on some of the teams that A&M is going to play. Where do you have Auburn? Like, how do you see Auburn looking this year? We've seen a lot of praise for them. I think Josh Pate had them inside his top 10. Florida as well inside of his top 10. So how do you see both those, Florida and Auburn?
Yeah, and look, Josh Pate is a friend. He's a great dude. I think he does a great job. And when I get my models out fairly early, and then, of course, I want to see what everybody else is doing, and I saw him on Auburn. I thought, that's interesting. I've got Auburn, and this is where you're going to say, okay, your listeners and subscribers are going to get this guy off here. I've got Auburn finishing 9-3 this year.
Okay.
I feel like defensively they were close last year, but it all falls on Jackson Arnold, right? I mean, Hugh Freeze, prior to the 2 years at Auburn, I mean, we saw him produce at Ole Miss, we saw him produce at Liberty. They've worked the transfer portal very, very hard. That game at Baylor right off the jump, that's going to tell you a lot about Auburn. Now, if they go out and lose that ball game, this season could take a turn. I have them losing at Oklahoma, losing at Texas A&M. Losing against Georgia, so kind of a tough stretch there, late September, early October. But then the schedule really does kind of lighten up for them. They'll play Missouri, who I think takes a step back this year, at Arkansas, Kentucky, and Vanderbilt. That should be some games they could run. Mercer before hosting Alabama. So for Auburn, it's more about, the collection of players that they have, putting a little bit more trust in Jackson Arnold. I mean, this is a guy that, look, he may end up turning his career around and be a great quarterback this year. He could go the way of some of these transfer quarterbacks that we've seen, but that schedule really lightens up for the Auburn Tigers midway through all the way to the end.
I want to ask you about LSU because a lot of people are high on them because of their transfer class. But I also think they're replacing an entire offensive line. The defense has had questions for 2 years. Yeah, they were better last year, but they still got some questions at defense. I know A&M hasn't won in Baton Rouge since 1994, so it's not about the A&M part of the conversation. It's just more, why will LSU be better?
Brian Kelly is such an interesting conversation piece, and the reason I say that is because he's getting a lot of heat down there. Gets a lot of heat from other fan bases, and I think it's more so to do about his quirkiness. We've seen the dancing and we've seen the fake accents and all the things that he does that is kind of off-putting, so to speak. But you look at a guy who won 10 games his first 2 years at LSU, won 9 games last year at LSU, had a Heisman Trophy winner in Jaden Daniels. I mean, LSU is one of those programs, as we know, that kind of regenerates or regens talent as well. So, the other negative for them is they've lost 3 straight opening ball games. Now, that ball game at Clemson week 1, that's a massive game. That may be the best game in week 1. Tigers v. Tigers in Death Valley up there. He needs to win that game. I've actually got him losing that game, losing another non-conference game there. But I do have them going 10-2 this year. I do like the talent on this roster. I mean, they're going to be able to pitch and catch as good as anybody. The question for them is defense. And, let me pull this up real quick to make sure I'm telling you the right numbers. Real fast, let me pull in one of these spreadsheets and look. Because LSU, offense hasn't necessarily been the problem for LSU. It's been the defensive side of the ball, which is kind of crazy. You go back and you look at LSU last year. If I can find them, where are they on this metric list? There we are. So, they were 14th in the country in offensive scoring efficiency, which was an offense that was right on the back end of what we would consider like a college football playoff type offense. And then defensively, they were 37th. And the year before that, they were somewhere around 80th. I believe, in the country. So they have made some of those strides defensively, and I get it on the offensive front. That is a cause for concern when you say, hey, we got to replace 3 linemen or 4 linemen. We know the more snaps your linemen get, especially at the center position, the better off you are. But I do like LSU's talent. There is some one possession ball games in there for the Tigers as well. Obviously the Clemson game. They've got to defend home field against Florida. They'll have a tough trip to Ole Miss, which has been a heck of a series between Lane Kiffin and Brian Kelly. They host South Carolina and Texas A&M. The losses I have them with a close loss to Oklahoma on the end of the year, and then a close loss to Clemson at the beginning of the year. So, but there's some very, very tricky moments in that schedule for them.
Jake, I want to ask you about South Carolina, and I'm going to start it off with some commentary. Lenore Sellers destroyed Texas A&M last year, and a lot of other teams, right? But I'm not as high on him as everybody else. Where are you on Lenore Sellers? Because I think when he's great, and I have no, leg to stand on because he is the reason I think South Carolina demolished A&M in the second half of that game last year. But that defense is going to look different. They'll still be really good, but they'll look different. And I don't know if they've added enough pieces around them. So tell me about South Carolina. Tell me about Lenore Sellers.
No, and look, I'm with you, I think, on Sellers. I think he has the potential, and I always say the 2 most dangerous words in the English language are love and potential, and we love both love and potential. But, I've taken a lot of heat for where I have Shane Beamer on my coaches rankings. But let's just go back in time just a little bit and remember with South Carolina. I mean, granted, last year, this team was they had all the numbers for a college football playoff team. I mean, they averaged 31 points per game, which is I like to see teams at 30 and above offensively. Defensively, I'd like to see you score, give up 23.5 to 24 or less. They gave up 18 a game. They went 9-4. LSU, they lost that game. They should have won that game. They lost by 3. Lost a 2-point ball game to Alabama on the road, and then of course lost their bowl game to Illinois. But when you go back, before I circle back to Lenore Sellers, 2 years ago, I mean, this was a team, that went 5-7. And 3 years ago under Beamer, they went 8-5. So, the question is Beamer more of the 5-7, 8-5, 9-4 coach? We'll see, because their talent that they recruit, they recruit really good talent. But to your credit now, when you talk to me earlier about talent, say, for instance, you lose a lot at Alabama, or you lose a lot at LSU, or you lose a lot at Texas A&M. Those losses are not as significant as, say, a South Carolina, because South Carolina is on down the rung as far as talent. They're not churning talent year over year like some of these schools are. So, pregnant pause on the talent there at South Carolina and Lenore Sellers, just because I want to see more from him. Yes, he had moments last year where he looked like a dude. I want to see that every week. And then you got to ask yourself, can his body maintain that if he is that physical for a full SEC schedule? I have South Carolina this year going, South Carolina going 8-4. They've got a pretty light schedule early. Virginia Tech, if they don't fall asleep at the wheel in that game, South Carolina State and Vanderbilt. They'll go to Missouri. Again, I think Missouri takes a step back, and they get Kentucky, who Mark Stoops, for whatever reason, that program is starting to cave off. I've got them going undefeated in that stretch, but after the bye week is where the rubber meets the road for those guys. At LSU, Oklahoma, Alabama, and Ole Miss. And, it's interesting to see, when you start stacking games like that for any team. Jackie Sherrill, as you guys know, former Texas A&M coach, Mississippi State coach, he used to say this when he was in Starkville. He said, you can really only get teams up as a coaching staff three times a season. He said, first game of the season, last game of the season is your rival, and then somewhere in the middle there's a big game. He said the rest of that's got to be on these guys, or you got to have elite talent, because it's so hard to bang each week against these teams in the Southeastern Conference where, you go in and South Carolina beats an LSU team, but then, oh, by the way, you got to play Texas A&M the next week, and then you got to play Alabama the next week. So the weekly attrition that goes into that, it's something that's why we see you wake up on a October morning that the slate, you say, well, it's not that great a slate today. And then you see 3 or 4 upsets. So for South Carolina, I just think they're still a ways behind in the talent metric to be that team that a lot of people think can compete for this conference.
We got to hit a break here, but I want to ask you about one more, maybe in a minute or so. I look at Arkansas, and I think they're going to be atrocious because they haven't been able to replace some of the talent that left. A&M's going to go to Fayetteville. They haven't been there in forever. So, I see why that could be a dangerous game. but I just don't think they've got the talent. What do you say?
I don't. I think you're spot on. I think there's been way too much loss there. I don't think they've replenished. You look at the transfer portal. I believe they lost way more than they took in this year. I'm going off memory, so I could be wrong. There's 30-something guys out the transfer portal. I've got them going real quickly. I know you got to get a break. 4-8 this year. I've got them with some, and of course they host Notre Dame. They go to Ole Miss early. They'll have to go to Tennessee, as you referenced. Texas A&M goes to Fayetteville. There'll be some ball games. Missouri at the end of the year, maybe Auburn, or if Auburn sloughs a little bit, or Tennessee, that they'll have a chance to get to 5 or 6. But I think 6 is the ceiling. But somewhere they're going to fit in 4 or 5.
Jake Wimberly, great stuff. ESPN Mississippi, also CFBHourglass.com. Jake, thanks for your time, bud.
Thanks, guys. Appreciate it.
Talk to you again. That was awesome. Really appreciate his thoughts, his model, everything about it. We'll hit a break here. We'll come back with Around the SEC. I found this interesting, guys. Like, just by accident, 1775 was not in the first hour. So me talking about 1775 without Olin is just weird, man. You just don't do that. But they are award-winning barbecue, and if you want to go to a place that stands above the rest, that's 1775, recognized by the toughest critics around, featured in Texas Monthly's top 25 new barbecue spots, Southern Living's top 10 Texas barbecue joints, and winner of the Texas Bucket List Bite of the Season. Prime meat spoke to perfection. Delicious. The customer service, the people, the atmosphere, you name it. When you go to 1775, you're going to love it. They're open Thursday through Saturday, 11 a.m. until they're sold out. 8203 Raymond Stosser Parkway in College Station. Do me a favor and call them up. 979-492-6241. They're open today. Or check out the website, 1775txbbq.com. Hey everyone, David Nuño and Olin Buchanan and OB. Typically we start off the show in this section and we call it the Holistic Planning Cool
The cool zone, yeah. It's pretty cool.
What do we know about holistic planning?
Well, a lot of cool stuff. For instance, holistic planning can help you with your investments.
I love that.
They can help you with your taxes. So
I don't like paying taxes.
You can get that money from your investments and then keep it. They'll help you keep it away from the government.
Yep.
Not all of it, but more of it. And then they'll even help you with your estate planning. When you're old like me, you got to make sure some of that money you made is there for when you want to retire and just enjoy the rest of your life.
You want your estate to be planned. But they also do something else.
Yeah, well, if you are, like, say, a sports fan, and you've always wanted to...
Everybody watching us, right?
Yeah. And you want to always dream of being an owner, well, in a certain way you can, because they will broker the deal for you to invest in pro sports.
Yeah, what you need to do is check out investinprosports.com. That's where you can get all the information if you want to invest in a team. I don't know what team. He'd probably try to buy the Cowboys. I try to buy a lot of the Houston teams. Whatever it may be, investinprosports.com. It is holistic planning, and we love hanging out at the Holistic Planning Cool Zone. And we're back. TexAgs Live, presented by David Gardner's Jewelers, Rollo Insurance Studio. Time for Around the SEC, presented by Jaxer. The Jaxer Group, if you're trying to build your dream home on your lot, let the Jaxer Group help you navigate the entire project from start to finish, making sure your home perfectly suits your lifestyle, your preference, and your budget. To turn your dream home into a reality, visit them at jaxsir.com. All right, Nick Savage, what do you have for us in Around the SEC?
We'll start with the SEC baseball tournament. It's so weird looking at the bracket now because they had to push everything back. So it's like they're finishing the second round today with A&M and Auburn obviously being the first game. That's at 11 o'clock right here on the Zone. But some action from yesterday. Obviously, A&M beat Mississippi State 9-0 in the final first round game to advance to that second round. Second game, or I guess first game in the second round, was Tennessee versus Alabama. Tennessee, the 8 seed. Alabama, the 9 seed. Tennessee won it 15-10. That score a little misleading. Tennessee really pulled away from them at the end, and Alabama put up, I think, like 4 runs in the top of the ninth to pull it a little bit closer. But Oklahoma and Georgia was the next game. Oklahoma with the upset over Georgia. They beat them 3-2. And then the final game that ended at like midnight or something. I'm glad we haven't had a game like that yet. But Ole Miss defeated Florida 3-1 in Game 7 of the tournament. The 4 games we got today, A&M taking on Auburn, like I mentioned. Tennessee and Texas, who's the real UT there. That's, I'm sure, going to be the conversation on Twitter. Oklahoma and Vanderbilt, and then Ole Miss and Arkansas caps it off in the, well, I guess Arkansas Ole Miss will be the third game of the day. Oklahoma Vanderbilt caps it off in the nightcap.
Good stuff. This Auburn game today. Why am I, Nick? Am I just like Maroon Kool-Aiding it? Like, why do I feel good about it?
Well, I feel like these tournaments always tend to favor teams in A&M's spot, right? That have more to play for, like Auburn, like Mississippi State. You know, pretty much all the teams left in the tournament, like they're in the right. NCAA tournament, right? But A&M, you know, has some work to do. So I feel like that kind of plays into A&M's favor. And, you know, Jace had a good quote in the post-game show yesterday, something about, you know, they'd run through a brick wall for Mike. And, you know, I'm sure they're aware of everything and you know, they know what they need to do to get to the tournament. So I feel like advantage A&M. I get what you're feeling.
Well, I think I'm feeling it for a couple reasons. I'm feeling it because the offensive experience yesterday, or explosion, if you will, to me gives me some like, okay, maybe this again, everything is maybe with this team, but maybe the offense has figured it out. How could you not be impressed and intrigued by what you saw from Justin Lampkin the last time out? How can you not feel good after seeing Prager struggle last week to come back and have a great performance yesterday, right? So there are things that make me feel really good about it. But if you were to ask me if I feel really good about them making the tournament, I would say no, I don't feel good about that. If you ask me if I feel good about them winning today and then we reevaluate tomorrow, that's kind of where I am. And I think I speak for probably a lot of Aggies, Nick.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, if you look at the pitching matchup tonight, Cade kind of pointed out that Auburn's not throwing their best guy, you know, and I feel like a lot of these teams that A&M have, or I guess Mississippi State, Auburn, and if they keep going, we'll see who they actually throw, if it's their number 1, number 2 guy. But, you know, I feel really good with Lampkin on the mound, especially his last start out in Georgia. So, you know, I'm with you there, David.
By the way, a couple of folks have sent on the text line, Reese and Nick, you guys can comment, but Jake Wimberly, people liked that segment. He was good.
He can give John Harris a run for his money with the amount of talking, you know, in a segment, which is not a bad thing at all. But yeah, I really liked him. I think 10-2, his reasons, I'm okay with it.
I'm not predicting 10-2, guys. I'd love to.
I'm not either.
I would love to. You know, there's somebody on the chat said, where is it? Nature. Does the earlier comment, Moss will be ready 100% by opening day, to translate he's still not ready to play some 90-plus days from opening the season?
It's actually, David, fun fact, 100 days
100
today. Yeah.
Oh, is it 100 days?
For Aggie football.
Today.
I thought it was 99. Okay, 100. But regardless, I think if you look at a knee injury timeline, right, and the fact that he will be ready to go when they start, to me is a very good sign. I'm trying to think, who was hurt? Was Jabri Barber last year, right? Who got injured, And we're like, I don't know when we're going to see the dude, right? And middle of the season. And I think he was suiting up by the second week of the season.
Yeah. And Le'Veon was in here, what was that, about a month ago with Armage on his podcast. You should go check it out, by the way. He was saying he was a little bit ahead of schedule. So, especially with the Joe Girardi, former Yankees manager, now the knee specialist. I'm just kidding. But
Dr. Joe.
Yeah, Dr. Joe. I'm sure he's not, too far off ahead of schedule, if not on schedule. So that's great news for A&M in 2025.
What is this story? And we got to hit a break here, so I apologize for not doing it. Jason Howell is probably waiting. There's a story about the wide receiver room at Arkansas. I don't know what they're talking about on the chat, but I'm going to have to do a little Google search and catch up. I don't know what's going on there, so I'm sure somebody will send me a link. All right, let's hit a break here. If your car was hit by that hailstorm a couple of weeks back, there's been 2 over the last 6 weeks, right? And you got these dents and you've got the hail damage on your car. You need to reach out to Classic Collision. I always mess up that word. Classic Collision and Restoration. Don't trust an out-of-town pop-up tent with your car because they'll be gone. They won't stand the test of time. You'll call them, hey man, you didn't fix this one. They're gone. Like you want to go somewhere that you can trust. And when your trim starts to fall off, all these other things that could potentially happen, you want to be able to go somewhere that's going to be here. And Classic Collision has been here for over 25 years, and countless customers have trusted them to give the best quality from auto body repair to everything else. They have the same quality, service, and detail that you have come to expect. They still do it. That's why they've been in this market for so long. So don't get your car fixed. Get it restored with Classic Collision and Restoration. Aggie owned and operated thanks to our good friend Doug Leopold, class of 1993. Call him up, 979-779-8399, or online at classiccollisionandrestoration.com. All right, we're back here on TexAgs Live. We're presented by David Gardner's Jewelers Rollo Insurance Studios. Now time for Recruiting Country, presented by American Momentum Bank. American Momentum Bank, the only privately owned bank headquartered in Bryan, College Station. They're committed to helping our community prosper by offering you a wide array of personal and business banking solutions specifically designed to help you build financial success with confidence and momentum on your side. With that, we go to the Buppy's Catering Hotline. Jason Howell, what's up, buddy?
Oh, same old thing, chasing these kids around, trying to see who's going where. I'm not going to lie, it's been a wild 3 weeks. I've been in Mobile, Baton Rouge, New Orleans, New York City, graduations, family stuff, mixing the work. We've been getting after it. Even went to Jazz Fest. So I've been all over the place.
Well, this is good. And we thought we were going to do a little radio yesterday until A&M baseball's game was pushed back, which was great because they ended up kicking some butt. So that was good to reschedule you.
I'll take credit for that, being so flexible, allowing the guys to get their morning session in and, get off on the right track there in Hoover. Anything I can do, always ready to lend a hand.
Let's talk about the official visits starting in June. Talk to me a little bit about what's on tap.
Yeah, you're going to see 3 big weekends for Texas A&M with starting on June 5th. That's going to be A&M's first big official visit weekend. You're going to see top prospects, a lot of commits in town. I know Jonathan Hatton, Jermaine Kinsler, Aaron Gregory, Jordan Carter, a lot of those guys are going to be in town that first weekend, along with some top targets, Zayden Crimpin, John Turntine, Tank Jones. You're going to have a lot, Braylon Womack, Brandon Aaron. There's a lot of big name, high priority targets that are going to be in right off the bat in June. And then it just keeps on going from there with 2 more big weekends, June 13th and the June 20th visit weekend before they wrap things up. They've got the commitments kind of spread out. I like how they've done a good job of getting priority prospects in on different weekends and not just overloading any particular weekend. There's going to be a lot of big name prospects in through June, and it's should be a lot of news coming through during the month. And July, I think, is when you're really going to see that recruiting momentum take off. So just on the heels of that, as these guys make decisions in that late June through July, August preseason, that's when you're going to see some dominoes that I think a lot of Texas A&M fans have really been desiring start to fall.
Yeah, it's funny, Jason, because you look at this recruiting cycle, it feels like a big splash, then it got a little quiet, and then we kind of feel some footsteps.
Yeah, and you saw it in the spring. You saw that they kicked it off. You had Jonathan Hatton right there that first weekend with that. I think Mike Davis was also that weekend, and then you had Storm Miller there in the middle, and then you closed with Victor Singleton for the spring game weekend and you kicked off your 27 class as well. So you didn't see like a full-on flurry, but what you did see is A&M brought in a lot of guys and laid a lot of groundwork, and you've got a lot of guys that took multiple visits, whether combine that with what guys that visited in the fall, attended junior days, then went to spring practices, and now you're seeing a lot of those guys back on official visits. And that when you're recruiting those big name guys, getting them on campus, and as many times as possible, it's always a major plus. And A&M's done a fantastic job doing that and kind of setting the table as a lot of these guys are starting to try and make decisions going into their senior season.
Talking to Jason Howell here on TexAgs Live. I know you had a recent article talking about some of the top performances from these camps in years past. Some of the guys you talk about are on this roster right now. So let's kind of go through some of these and some of the names that popped up.
Yeah. Well, Trey Zune, that one's always one of my favorites. I remember me and Bronny both saw him, I think, at different times during registration. We're always there looking for, faces we recognize, and then you see a guy that walks through the door, blacks out the door frame, and walks in like he owns a place. And you know that you got to find out who he is. Those are always fun. And Trey was one of those guys. We didn't know him coming into that camp. He was from Colorado. We're like, okay, that's why we don't know you. It's but turns out he had that tremendous history there. He had already had quite a few offers and was well established on A&M's radar. And after that, he went to work. He wasted no time. He passed with flying colors, all the measurements as they poked and prodded him. He ran. I don't know if he ran the 40 or not, but he killed it in one-on-ones. And that's one of those guys that us as a staff may not have known much about. He didn't have an offer coming in, but he was already well established on A&M's radar. And soon after, Coach Henson, I believe, was the one that did the honors, and they kind of laid the foundation for him to make his pledge later on down the line. I think that was the COVID class, and he visited for, I think it was a February junior day or it was a late January junior day. It was one of the last things I think they got to do in that cycle. And he went ahead and pulled the trigger in that deal. But yeah, Trey's one that's always going to stand out. At DJ Hicks is another one. He was in between his 8th grade and freshman year, going into Morton Ranch there in Katy. 6 foot, 200 pounds. Like I said in the article, he wasn't one of those guys that just jumped out to you when you saw him first. He was young. He didn't have just these measurables that jumped off the map at first glance, and then you find out how young he is as he keeps winning reps against seniors. And you see his attitude and the way he handles himself. He hasn't changed a bit either. He just kind of goes to work and lets the actions do the talking. And he did that day. Of course, he's grown considerably since then. He went on to become a 5-star and a high priority prospect. But that's one of those that kind of came off the radar. I mean, I'm not trying to watch 8th grade JV middle school highlights, David, but that's one that he put himself on the map at that point.
Got to hit a break here, but I do want to ask you about Nelson McGuire because he's a recent commit. So just talk a little bit about your introduction to him at camp.
Well, so I actually got to see him at a previous camp earlier in the summer, and that's where I got a chance to put him on my radar. I knew coming in, when I saw him at camp, I was like, okay, in College Station, this is a guy I'm going to put on offer watch right away. He was a guy I thought had a chance to really make a statement. The question to me was how much A&M was going to push for a 25 offensive lineman because they had already well established themselves with several offensive line prospects, and he didn't have a whole lot of tape. So he didn't get the offer that day, but he made a phenomenal impression. I remember watching Coach Cushion coach him up and give him several talking points. He worked at offensive tackle in one-on-ones, and he went up against the international company, PPE, that brings in those European guys like Theo, and they were in town that day, and he had a defensive end that ended up catching quite a bit of interest. I think he pledged to Vanderbilt later, but that was one of the guys. He was just a twitchy edge presence that Nelson went head-to-head with multiple times throughout the day and really showed strong. And I think that Coach Cushing's ability to work with him and get to know him, and then later in early, I think it was early September, he got a couple games under his belt, and it wasn't long after that he got his offer, and then A&M went ahead and vaulted up his list and secured that commitment.
All right, let's hit a break here. We'll come back with a little bit more on Recruiting Country, brought to you by American Momentum Bank. Moment for Caldwell Country Chevrolet, Highway 21 in Caldwell, online at caldwellcountrychevrolet.com. If you're looking for a selection that won't break the bank, you need to reach out to Caldwell Country Chevrolet because they stock up on new vehicles all the time. They're pre-owned and their new vehicles are fantastic, and they're growing daily. The real deal is they're south of those big city prices. You'll really love the pricing that you'll get when you go there. Plus, there's no dealer add-ons. What you see is what you get when you go to Caldwell Country Chevrolet. They're locally owned, Aggie alumni team, ready to roll out the red carpet for you. Remember, they have every vehicle purchase comes with a free oil change for life, and that's thousands of dollars in savings over the life of your vehicle. Remember, it's about a 15-minute drive, the edge of Bryan to the beginnings of Caldwell. A short conversation away, but you'll see the difference when you step on the lot and you do business with the great people at Caldwell Country Chevrolet. Highway 21 in Caldwell, online, caldwellcountrychevrolet.com. All right, we're back here on TexAgs Live, presented by David Gardner's Jewelers Rollo Insurance Studio. Recruiting Country, presented by American Momentum Bank. We've got about 3 minutes, Jason. So one of the things that you sent me that we could talk about, Aggies don't have in-state commits yet, but are in good position for several top in-state targets. Is that a normal thing? Like, I don't know. It feels weird to be in June and not have any in-state guys.
Well, they do have two in-state commits, but they don't have a lot.
Many,
and the criticism has been that they are lagging. And I understand that. I get the criticism. It is a little bit later than normal. And last year, I know they. I want to say they had about 8 of their commits in-state guys, and them isn't there just yet. They have done a phenomenal job. Jonathan Hatton is one of the top running backs in the country, one of the best in the state, and was a priority for Trooper Taylor. And then you've got Mike Brown, who obviously the strong connections there and at a very strong program in Houston that is going to be one that A&M continues to find success at over the years. If you haven't heard Cade's interview with Michael Bishop, go listen to it. It's phenomenal. But they have set the table very well with several in-state guys that are big prime targets. KJ Edwards out of Carthage with along with his teammate linebacker DeQuivius Beck, Booby Feaster at DeSoto, John Turntime, one of the top offensive linemen in the state and country out of North Crowley, state champion. Then staying in the Dallas area, Drew Evers, Zayden Crimpin, KJ Ford. They have really put themselves in position to go on a run, and I expect this class to end up with a significant portion of it being in-state prospects. I would say over half, and that means that there's some work to do in the state right now. But it's not something that they can attain, and they've really put themselves in a good position. I think we'll start to see a lot of those dominoes fall over the summer months, and that's kind of where we're at right now. But yeah, I get it. We are lagging in state if you compare it to years previous, but they've also done a phenomenal job of getting big priority out-of-state targets as well in the boat. So
got to drop it there, Jason. Thank you, brother. Appreciate you. Got
always.
a hard
Yes, sir.
break here. We'll come back. It's TexAgs Live. All right, guys. TexAgs Live presented by David Gardner's Jewelers Rollo Insurance Studio. So we're going to do fan show a little early at around 10:20 because we got baseball to get you ready for at 10:45. So make sure you keep it here on TexAgs Live throughout the show. And then afterwards, if you're listening on The Zone, make sure you listen to the Aggie baseball game. As a reminder, the final segment of the program brought to you by Double Dave's. That's at 10:50. But right now, caller number 12, 979-693-1150. We're going to hook you up with your choice of a dozen pepperoni rolls or a large one-topping pizza from Double Dave's. They've been serving Aggieland since 1984 with your favorite pizza and, of course, those world-famous pepperoni rolls. Reliable in-house delivery, bringing piping hot goodness straight to your door. Just click on doubledaves.com, and your favorites are on their way. Luke Evangelist, our basketball analyst, here with us to talk about Rashawn Agee. He's a G, Bubba.
Yeah.
He's a G.
Welcome to a G land.
Look at you. Look at you. With a big smile, happy about your basketball team getting some quality.
Well, now I'm going to steal one from Matthew Dawson. He said this one. Obviously, it's going to be way wittier than anything we could come up with.
Yeah.
He said that a G literally shows that there is no I in Aggie, in being an Aggie. He's a team player.
Look at that. That's a Matthew Dawson line. A genie in the bottle. Let's talk a little bit about him.
Wow, that was good.
Yeah, not so good. 6'8", 230. Average 9.5 points. The guy can shoot the three from the 5 position.
Yeah, he shot 39% from 3 on 2 attempts per game. So you don't need...
That would lead A&M last year, right? Or pretty close?
Yeah, that would have been like C.J. Wilcher. That's basically, imagine C.J. Wilcher, but he's 6'8", and he could probably go play tight end for Mike Elko. I don't know if C.J. Wilcher can do that.
Bucky, I love the guys you're bringing. I don't know if you heard the first segment, because I compared it to like when I played video games, and I'm just changing the roster all the time. I feel like he's got like... It's kind of like an expansion draft, but he's picking these guys, and then I look at their numbers like, dude, if they bring that here, we could be pretty good.
Yeah, I mean, you've taken the leading scorer from NC State. You've taken USC starting center. You've taken Texas Tech's best bench player. You've taken a guy who was a starter at Alabama 2 years ago. Like, they're bringing in guys with Power 5 experience, which is really more than what you could ask for. Like, when Bucky was first hired, you're thinking if this team... can just not go winless in SEC play, that would be a good year because he inherited one player, and it's Chris McDermott. And as of right now, it doesn't look like Chris McDermott will really have much of a role next year because they've just continued to stack talent above him.
I'm sorry for asking that. I shouldn't even ask this. When's the next portal for basketball?
So it's just kind of like one big portal. There is no...
It's not like football. They break it into 2.
Correct. It's just like the season's over. The portal opened the weekend of the Sweet 16, I think, or maybe the round of 32. One of those weekends, and it just goes until, you got to be enrolled in a school by fall time.
But it's closed. You can't go in the portal now.
No, you can't go in the portal, but like the portal itself, there is no rush.
What I'm saying is, I don't think
we
we shouldn't have that many more defections.
Right. The only thing now could be like asking to be released from your NLI, like Duke Miles did after the. That's basically like a cheat code to kind of still be in the portal, but it's also like
the team doesn't have to cooperate.
Yeah, exactly. It's weird, but for all you really need to know is like the portal is closed, but there is no deadline to get these guys out of the portal. So you could see additions being made all the way up until August if necessary. But I don't think it's going to be like that.
So, Agee, how does he fit in this offense, and what is a theoretical starting 5?
That's a great question because you've got a lot more lineup flexibility than you did 24 hours ago. At USC, when he was averaging 9 points and 4.5 rebounds, he was exclusively their starting center. He never really played the 4. Whereas when you go back a year to when he was at Bowling Green with actually Marcus Hill, they were teammates at Bowling Green. He was playing.
How good was that Bowling Green team? Do you know?
They were 20-14, so
they're good.
Okay,
goodish.
They were like 230th in KenPom, so not that good.
Not that good.
But individually, those were their 2 best players. Marcus Hill led the MAC in scoring and was first team All MAC, and Agee was second team All MAC and was second in the conference in rebounding. So you took 2 players who were really great at the mid-major level, and then they went their separate ways and already proved that they can be quality players at the Power 5 level, with Agee going for 9 and 4 at USC and Marcus Hill leading NC State in scoring. So I guess it's kind of less risky to bring those guys in, whereas when we talk about Jakari Lane, we don't know how his game will translate from the mid-major level, whereas these 2 guys have already proven their game can translate. But in terms of a starting lineup, the options are really limitless because you can play Federico and Aggie at the 4 and 5 and just say, okay, you two, I mean, Aggie can stretch the floor, so maybe you would qualify him as the 4 and Federico as the 5 because he's.
But it's like a positionless basketball team, right?
So we're like grasping at straws here, but either way, that lineup now gives you great opportunity to play Mbako at the 3 if he does decide to return to Texas A&M, which is kind of what they want because they want that matchup problem. He's already a great player if you put him at the 4, but you get someone that is 6'6" guarding him compared to maybe 6'10".
What about speed-wise?
Jakari Lane is super quick.
No, Mbako.
Oh.
To put him at the 3, do we know how fast he is?
I mean, he can run in transition. That's really kind of all you need, but they've got quicker guys on the roster already in Marcus Hill and Jakari Lane who their whole game is we're going to get downhill in the blink of an eye and get to the basket.
So this is a very uneducated comment I'm about to make.
Oh, boy.
Okay. Well, by uneducated, I haven't watched enough film of these guys to be able to make this qualifying statement. But it feels like talent for talent, this team might have more talent outside of your legends. So, and when I say legends, Wade Taylor's an all-timer. Pharrell Payne had an all-time finish to the season and was a fantastic addition. I'm talking about in between that, like offensive talent. How about that? Offensively, this team is way more deep than last year's team. Offensively, I don't know about defensively. Based on numbers that I'm seeing.
And I think that that's just like a clash of styles. Like Bucky and Buzz are looking for two different kinds of players. One offense was predicated on how many times can we miss and get the ball back so we can shoot 10 more times than the opponent. And the other offense is going to be predicated on
efficiency.
We're going to go as fast as possible and shoot as many threes so we can take 10 more shots than the opponent, but in a more efficient manner. So I think it would be a great matchup if these two teams played each other because one is so focused on defense and the other is so focused on offensive efficiency.
Yeah.
But I can't. It's hard to say how all these pieces will mesh together. I don't want to put an unrealistic expectation on the team, but I think talent for talent, you've got...
and I mean offense because there's no Anderson Garcia on this
There's
team.
no... Well,
is there?
Rashawn Agee was the Anderson Garcia of USC. He was one of the most beloved players on that team because he was a hard-nosed physical rebounder.
Right.
And the fan base, he came in with no fanfare from what I remember from USC fans and now like what they're saying about his loss being so big because they all wanted him back. He was a fan favorite by the end of the season.
Why has USC's done well in the portal? I know that.
Yeah.
Is that why they've lost guys in the portal?
Well, Musselman, his whole strategy at Arkansas was how can we, it was kind of like, how can we just get the best talent in for 1 year and let's see what happens? And there was not really much continuity with those teams outside of Tremont Mark. Whereas at USC, I just think they didn't have a great year. And a lot of their best players were like, all right, I don't want to stick around here. And then when they saw the level of talent they were bringing in, that just made their decision even easier to leave.
I look at Agee's numbers and I'm like, at Bowling Green, he averaged almost 10 rebounds a game 1 year, right?
Yeah, 9.9.
So, and I know it was less this past season, but 5.5, 6, if he's giving you that and he can shoot the 3 ball, like he's going to be somebody you have to keep on the floor.
Yeah, and that's why I think this addition is so big and why a lot of people were just on the message boards or Twitter maybe worried that the roster was stalling at 10 or 11 players when in reality there are still great players out there. Like someone like Agee, he's not the best player available in the portal. Like there are better players out there that A&M is still trying to get as well. Some who may have been Agee's teammate as recently as last year. So the notion that all the talent has been sapped out of the portal is just wrong. And you're seeing the staff going to work on identifying guys who may not be the most highly rated or highly recruited, but they're going to fit the system well. How many other teams are going to have 5 guys that are 6'8" or taller and 4 of them can shoot multiple threes a game at a higher level than 35%?
Look, we'll see. Like you said earlier, I don't know how it's going to mesh. I'm basing this on just the numbers I'm seeing and a few highlights, right? But I feel like had you told me this was going to be the kind of roster he put together the day he got hired,
Yeah.
When I already thought like this first year might be a waste because it was so deep into the process and Buzz was taking everybody. Like I've wanted to be happily surprised, and I have been.
Yeah, and it's you look at you're absolutely right. For what Bucky did at Samford, year one was all right, let's just get our proof of concept. I think they won 10 games that year, and then years 2, 3, 4, and 5 are when it really takes off. He's not easing into that at A&M. Given the resources he has, the coaching staff he's put together, they're trying to make the tournament in year one. There is no gap year. Let's feel it out. Let's get some players and develop them. We've got now pretty much every single major contributor has 1 year of eligibility left. Let's put the best team out there that we possibly can, and then let's build up our recruiting base from there. I think this 2026 class is going to be massive for them. And typically, Buzz was taking 2 to 3 guys. They're going to lose most of their contributors after next year. I think they're going to see maybe 4 or 5 guys in this class. And it's a class that has a ton of talent in Texas, and that's what this coaching staff is built on, exploiting and getting to campus.
So what you're telling me is more than likely he's going to have to play this exact same game next year to fill up a roster. And if he shows proof of play, right, and it's successful, and he's got earlier head start on recruiting, then we're going to be able to hopefully do this again as you get those younger players to start buying in.
Yeah, instead of maybe having to find 13 players in the portal, you've got enough of a base in recruiting and guys like Jamie Vinson and Josh Holloway who have multiple years of eligibility left. Those guys can develop into bigger pieces of the roster next year. So maybe you're not looking for a starting center in the portal because Jamie Vinson has developed into that. Or maybe you're not looking for another starting guard because Josh Holloway could be that. And that's just all purely hypothetical, but I don't think they're going to be looking to replace the entire roster in the portal next year, but it is going to be multiple guys that they're having to, and that's college athletics these days.
Yeah.
Like A&M fans and people who followed A&M basketball were kind of spoiled by the fact that you only needed to get 1 or 2 guys in the portal every year because you had that continuity. And A&M as a program never had to go through what the vast majority of college basketball teams did, where roster turnover of 8 or 9 guys was just the norm every year. And now A&M's playing that game. And Bucky McMillan is navigating through that in his first year as a Power 5 head coach. And I would say he's done pretty well.
Yeah, he absolutely has. All right, so still some big fish and regular fish to catch.
Yeah.
You expect movement soon? Is this kind of like, this is kind of going to be a slow pace at this point because there is no rush?
Well, so I want to say there's a dead period either within a week or very soon, or it might have started yesterday. And either way, I know there's a dead period of about a week coming up. So a G was on campus. You saw that in the commit video that they made. So they're trying to get guys to campus as soon as whenever that, let's say the dead period ended or started yesterday, then they've been getting guys to campus. They're just working on closing those commitments. But the next domino is we're kind of waiting for Mbako's decision, which is now 6 days from the deadline. And I expect that to go up into the deadline. And as Billy and as a lot of people who are following this situation have maintained, it still is more likely than not that he'll be in the Maroon and White next year. But ultimately, that is his decision and not draft experts or anyone in the program's decision. It is his decision alone. And if he feels like he's going to make more money now and have a better prospect now, then he'll go to the NBA draft. But the team that they've built right now, he has the chance to be the featured star on a team that could make the tournament in a system that is going to translate well to the NBA, and he could potentially be a first rounder next year. So 6 days away, May 28th is probably the next domino to fall on what this roster could look like. As do you have a potential first round pick on the team next year, or are they going to be big fish hunting once again for another star in the portal?
Thank you, Luke. Appreciate you.
No problem.
We'll come back with the fan show, guys. Right now, Brazos Running Company. They're located at Century Square. I was just there about a week ago. Whatever shoe you want, that's the place to go to. If you're a runner or interested in fitness, the right shoe makes all the difference in the world, and that's what they do at Brazos Running Company. If you go there, they're going to find you that right shoe because they'll put you through, some tests that are easy tests just to see how you run, and they'll be able to find the right shoe that fits your stride. Local retailer for Vuori, one of the hottest athletic brands in the country, and also your source for Duck Camp outdoor apparel. They have turtle box speakers with many maroon accents and handles. And of course, they have Stanley Cups there. So Brazos Running Company, that's located at Century Square below the Star Cinema Grill in College Station. Check it out. It's the Brazos Running Company. Why are you laughing, Roy? What's so funny?
Oh, we'll talk about it at the break.
TexAgs Live. We're presented by David Gardner's Jewelers, Rollo Insurance Studio. We call this the
Fan Show.
Fun Show. Roy May, hello.
What's going on, man?
Matt Browning, hello.
Good morning, David.
Good
How
morning.
are you? Buenos dias, muchacho.
So you guys don't know Reese Nygren at the Angry Elephant News and Social Center, and I didn't prepare him for this, but you typically have to ask, whoever's in the Social Center asks the first question of the day. And don't think of a question, just ask a very simple question. What's on your mind?
What's on your mind this morning?
You know what? I mean, with softball.
Oh, God. You got to start there?
I'm going to let Roy start because Roy, I'm going to say this, I think Roy might be Aggie softball's biggest fan.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a rough week for him, so I'm going to let him go.
There's a couple season ticket holders in the club section that are pretty psychotic about it, that can't match their energy. But I am a huge softball fan. Awful letdown. Just so terrible. I hate it for the girls. It's not like they got hosed or anything, though. It just played out the way it played. Yeah, played out the way they played out. But so softball season's over for me. I generally won't watch it if the Ags aren't in it. Just kind of out of spite a little bit, quite frankly. I'll generally watch the final series, like the championship. I'll watch that. But it's kind of weird. We're in this weird transition phase, but baseball hasn't. They're not done yet. I got to watch some of the game yesterday. I had to go get some work done, but I've watched them all the way up to 8 runs, and I felt pretty good about leaving and going to work. So opportunity again today exists in front of you, and it's one pitch, one inning, one game. Just take what's in front of you, and so I'm excited about it. You brought up earlier on the show just talking about how you have a good feeling about it for some reason. I'm kind of in the same headspace. I'm not sitting here predicting it win, but Auburn not throwing their ace. We know what we have in Justin Lampkin. Assuming the weather can just hold up in Hoover. I talked about this last week. I think the SEC tournament should rotate around campuses. I hate Hoover. Like, how fun would it be to have the SEC tournament at the Box or at Duty Noble? Like, come on, man. Those fantastic places. But in general, exciting with buckyball going on. Still got baseball. We're starting to edge into talking about football. And I'm playing golf today, so I'm in a great mood.
Mateo, what's on your mind?
Same thing. We're thinking about. It was a bummer. I mean, especially for the softball girls. I watched. You turn it on. We're down 6-0 after we'd already lost, and I was like, I had the PGA Championship on. I'm watching that at the same time, and then they started to come back, and you're just like, wow, this was fun. It was so fun to watch them, and you are bummed out about them. The curse everyone keeps speaking of, or this new curse that I don't think it's new. I mean,
lifetime.
I was like, new.
My entire lifetime, the 45 years I've been on this planet, it's been that way. But I've never really considered to move into the women's sports. I don't think that because they're built different than us on the men's side. So I think it was just a bum. I think it was it really is a bummer that happened. I mean,
but it had to happen to us.
It had to happen to us here at home. But you know what? Liberty played. I mean, that team played really good. They played really hard. They didn't give up. They kept fighting back too. You got to give them all the credit in the world.
Liberty can mash. I mean, they can.
And I really like Liberty as a school. I mean, there's things about them that I'm a big fan of. Mm-hmm. So that was tough. And then, of course, baseball coming out yesterday. Anytime you hit a grand slam early, boy, that'll get you fired up, get you excited. And they played well. And so. I think Roy put it perfectly. It was one pitch at a time, and just keep winning, and fingers crossed from there.
So I don't know if optimism's the way I want to phrase it. My level of I feel pretty good, right? And that is that. It's not that I feel pretty good they're going to make the tournament, because I don't. I really don't feel pretty good about making the tournament. What I feel good about today, and then I'll worry about tomorrow, is that we got a very good Justin Lampkin the other day. Right? 15 strike. I mean, legendary performance, right?
Very good. It's putting it nicely.
We got a good performance from Prager, a really good performance from Prager yesterday, right?
Well, what's funny is it was a good performance, and I was sitting there watching the game with my buddy who's a baseball coach, and baseball is his life, and we got a good performance out of him, and he really wasn't that sharp.
But we got the good performance,
That's what's crazy is he wasn't that sharp, and so you're thinking, man, if we can get him on the bump again, kind of thing,
But you got that. And you got Jace, who had been struggling a bit, to go grand slam. So and then all the other reasons about potentially Auburn pitching this guy that is good, but he's not their guy. I just feel pretty good about the chances. We'll see how it plays out. What do you guys think? How far do they have to go to get in the tournament? Do they have to win the SEC tournament?
I think they have to win the entire thing. At this point, I mean, what? That's the only. I think that's. I mean, with the performances we've put on the field, you know, I mean, yes, you can go and look at some of the good series we had, but I mean, for every amazing series we had as equally as bad a series. I mean, that Missouri series that just boggles the mind.
That series is the albatross when you look at it, like hanging around our neck, right?
Well, I'm sorry, the Texas series also. I don't care they're the number one team in the country.
One's still.
We were on fire going into that, and we can't win one game, and then to go into, I mean, Georgia.
But look at it as a non-Aggie. Getting swept by Texas in Austin is not the worst thing on the planet, considering you didn't get your doors blown off. They're the number one team in the like. There are things from a metric standpoint that don't make that as bad. The Missouri is just really bad. So I think they have to, at a bare minimum, make the final game. And I think just making that game maybe gives them a tiny shred, but I think you got to win it.
I think you got to win it. I think you have to win it, and because again, they're going to look back, and I mean that losing 3 straight to Missouri, who hadn't won a single SEC game at home, is, I mean, that's a kick in the, you know. I mean that they're not going to take that lightly. We have to go on a run here and win. I think we have to win.
And what makes it difficult is they show this metric. I don't think anybody from 6 seed or lower has ever won the SEC tournament because you run out of pitching. You just do.
You're going to run out of pitching.
And the other teams with double buys.
And the other teams with double buys, and they're just waiting. And they're going to keep their guy on regular schedule.
And you're going to burn through your arms, and so yeah, it's.
In order for you to pull it off, you got to mash your way there.
And this team,
they can. Well,
they can.
Without Sorrell.
A little different without Caden Sorrell. But
I mean, to lose Sorrell and Grahovic and not have either of those two guys in the lineup is a tough blow. But hey, like you said, one pitch at a time, one game at a time. Let's go.
All right, let's move on to football. So yesterday, Coach Elko said Le'Veon. To me, the big story is Le'Veon will be 100% when the season starts.
Yes.
And I go back to last season, if he doesn't get hurt, right? Like that doesn't hold. But if this running back room is what I think they could be, and I have to see it because of the injuries, right? But I feel a lot better after hearing Elko yesterday. It's just words. Words don't mean anything, but I don't think he's saying it unless he feels very confident about it.
Yeah, I mean, to have a two-headed monster with Ruben and Le'Veon, and making sure they're both back healthy. I mean, obviously, Ruben had his injury struggles last year. And I mean, what did he play? He only played in the last game, I guess, huh?
Ruben played
Texas
a little bit in the Texas game and the USC game.
So I mean, to have so little of him and him not. And of course, when he gets in, he's rusty. He's not fresh. You know, he's learning a new offense, playing in it for the first time. And then you've got, of course, Le'Veon going down. I mean, he was an absolute workhorse. I mean, he was amazing until that injury. So having both those guys back. And then some of the new depth and everything else. I'm telling you, I think that's our strongest position group right now. You've been saying that for months now.
That and I hope that and the offensive line, which I feel is pretty darn strong.
I think it's the combination of those two.
Yeah.
And I think when you say, I'm not trying to put words in your mouth, but when you say I still need to see it, I think we just need to see him stay healthy. That's what I need to see because I don't think there's any questioning the talent and ability.
Right.
And so it's just, can we stay healthy?
Do you not worry about a knee injury, how long it takes to really feel like yourself?
Yeah, I mean, it would take me 3 years to come back from one. But
you're 60.
But I'm basically AARP.
Actually, I am.
I mean, you always concerned about knee injuries, obviously, and the re-injuring possibility. But elite athletes, their recovery time is always less.
Yep.
You know, and so. And you've seen it time and time again, whether it's A&M, just sports in general. These people coming back from these injuries, when they happen, you're like, man, he's going to be out for a year.
I know.
The football season is going to be starting, and he's going to be finally out of a brace, maybe, you know. So their ability to recover, I think, is huge.
Medicine's gotten better.
Yeah, treatment, physical therapy, all of it's gotten better. And so if he says he's on track, then he's on track.
I mean, 40-year-old Kobe Bryant tore his Achilles and played the next season, which is unreal.
Was he 40 when that happened, or a little young?
38, 39, 40, somewhere.
Not 20.
In general. Yeah. No, he wasn't 20 anymore.
Let's hit a break. We'll come back.
He's a psycho.
That's what I love about him.
I did like.
I didn't like him when he played.
I didn't like him when he played, but afterward, that's still heartbreaking.
Ground Shuttle offers frequent and reliable shuttles from Bryan College Station to George Bush Intercontinental Airport when you're traveling this summer. Think about them. They will get you there to George Bush. You don't have to worry about the traffic. You don't have to worry about all the parking disaster that is there when you go there. There's always construction. You get in this lane, it keeps you 15 minutes late. It's a disaster. Let Ground Shuttle take care of you. You can enjoy the ride, catch up on work, emails, take a nap, read a book, whatever you want to do, and they'll get you there. 9 shuttle times every weekday, every hour and a half, and 5 shuttle times on the weekends, every 2.5 hours. 2.5 hours. Excellent for business travelers and commuters. And also they have charter service. So if you got a concert or some big event around Texas you want to go to, they've got you. They've got private luxury car service, Mercedes S-Class. They got the Gilly. You name it, they have it there. It's groundshuttle.com, the website. Groundshuttle.com. Check them out for your next trip. And we're back. TexAgs Live, presented by David Gardner's Jewelers, Rollo Insurance Studio Fan Show for one final segment because we got to get out of here by 10:44.
Baseball game.
Aggie baseball.
I'm having it on in the truck, listening to it on the radio.
We'll be watching it as a group here. And
I'm having it on the course.
So, all right. When you look at what A&M has done the last 5 years, let's say, and the lack of NFL talent that has produced, and then in our minds, we expect to compete with the top programs of the SEC, right? That has not come to fruition. Is it a development? Is it a missed scouting? Whatever it may be. But now you have Elko yesterday, Coach Elko, saying that he projects 10 to 12 players being drafted, which would, and Reese, look up the numbers. I think Texas and Georgia led the NFL draft this year with like 14 and 12, something like that. Find those numbers. But if in reality they have anywhere between 8 and 12, what does that do for what we think this season could look like?
Well, I mean, first, let me address why. I mean, I think that what the lack of talent has been. I think it was a combination of, number one, going back to the regime before, just focusing on stars. It seemed like, and some stories I've heard, that was the focus was get the best recruiting class in history. And of course, by the time that recruiting class was done, which was an amazing recruiting class, and we all had a blast watching it and experiencing it, but I mean, most of those guys transferred out. I mean, how many of them actually ended their career here? Are there any left on this? I mean,
the 22 class.
Yeah, there's a couple.
Well, was Le'Veon was there before?
Jared Kerr, you got
Le'Veon.
Like
I think there were like 4. We talked about
Duluth. When we lost Noah last year, we lost Nolan and Stewart and all these different guys. That so when you take all those classes, and especially with the transfer portal, and of course the regime change and all the turmoil that's been within the program and losing games, you look, Walter Nolan, he got drafted.
Yeah.
You look at a lot of our guys got drafted that would have been here. So it's not that we didn't have the talent, we just couldn't keep some of the talent.
Theo, or there's 2, right? You've got Le'Veon, you've got Theo. I'm trying to see. Mark Naboo.
Silla left, didn't he?
Yep.
Yeah.
So
Shamar Stewart. Now Shamar Stewart did stay his entire career here.
But we're saying today that it's still here.
Today's roster. There would be Bryce Anderson. We got Bryce.
4. So 4 guys.
4 guys. 4 guys from that 22 class. They're still here.
I don't think there's any one thing that you can pin it on. Yeah, I mean, going after just stars doesn't always work, but man, sometimes it does, right? There's a culture issue. We had a culture issue.
A development issue.
We had a development issue. So it's a 3-headed monster that we're trying to address. And I think when you hear that from the head coach, that you're looking at possibly a dozen players that are going to go in the NFL draft, which means you have NFL talent on your roster. Then the question becomes, how many are projected for the following draft? Because that's what you have to build with each class, is players that are NFL talent. That's how you compete in the SEC. Because if you don't have it, you're going to get run out of the building every week. So it's not just having 1 year where you have a bunch of draft picks. I mean, look at Georgia; they're just filling the NFL every year. That's all they do. They just tons of NFL drafts, and look how well Georgia played. Look at how well they've been over the last 5 years.
It was a down year last year for them.
Yeah.
It would be a phenomenal year for us.
Absolutely bonkers.
Yeah.
So that's awesome, and that's great to hear, and you hope that translates to the field. But that's something that I want to become more of the norm, as opposed to, hey, do you remember that year when we had 12 dudes drafted? Yeah. What about the next year? 1. Great.
I mean, the Bama fans or the Bama fans complain if they don't win the national championship, it was a bad year, right? And so, I mean, then Bama's loaded the NFL for
Bama and Georgia. Yeah.
I mean, they have just been, both of those have been unbelievable. And so, I think it's a culture thing. It's something is happening that is where not only are we getting the guys, because we get the talent. There's no doubt we get talent. We get plenty of 5 stars. We had the number 1 ranked recruiting class in history come here. So we have the ability to recruit at a high level. It's, are we developing them? And then, of course, when you have a regime change in the middle of that, you're going to lose players. So in the transfer portal has a huge effect on it. And we've had guys leave that were NFL talent, and we haven't replenished that with more. I mean, Nick Scorton was a great pickup. Nick Scorton was fantastic. It's a good example of, we lose Walter Nolan, but you pick up Nick Scorton. So that, in my mind, it's kind of a wash, right?
Yep.
But in other areas, we didn't. You lose a Stewart.
Evan Stewart.
Evan Stewart. So a lot of those. So you lose him, but we don't replace him with even a similar.
But what was he? I think that specific example is kind of null and void. But it's a development thing, and while the overwhelming majority, I'm sure, are 5 stars, the NFL is not only 5 stars. So there's a development process to get 3 stars to NFL talent.
Yep.
And that's all you want to see. You want to see us year in and year out having 6, 8, 10 dudes drafted.
So let me ask you guys this, because it's not even a question, it's more of a commentary. We got about 4 minutes left. When you look at A&M's season last year, it was about not finishing the season, right? Mm-hmm. And that's what one of the things Coach Elko said. But really, you could say the same thing about not finishing games, right? Because USC, I would say Notre Dame, I would say Texas.
Both USCs.
Auburn.
Both USCs, yeah.
Well, the USC game, the South Carolina game there, with terrible second half, no doubt, and a terrible fourth quarter. I give that one a little bit of a pass because of the shock of losing your best offensive player. But yes, you're correct. The Texas game, even though it felt like that game was not close, it was close.
It's a 10-point game.
Right? And you had a 4th and 1 situation that could have changed the way that fourth quarter played out. It didn't happen. The Notre Dame game was tied at 10 with 5 minutes left.
We had multiple 4th and 1 opportunities in that game, which is the most frustrating thing ever.
But that's the point, is that it's not just about finishing the season. It's about you didn't finish the Auburn game. You had the lead entering the last drive of the game. The same against USC, and your defense failed you there.
Mm-hmm. I mean, it is. It's that. I think that's what was so frustrating to go. You get to 7-1. You just come off beating LSU. Marcel came in and turned the game around. We're all fired up. As excited as we've been as a fan base in a long time. You're like, okay. Then you look at the schedule going ahead. You're like, this schedule looks good.
We can navigate it.
And then you lose to Auburn. That was the hardest pill of all of them. Texas was the hardest pill to swallow as an Aggie fan, but the game itself against Auburn, to have the Cam Coleman.
Oh yeah, Cam Coleman,
who was committed to A&M, decommitted and signed with Auburn last second to go off like he did against us. That hurts. That adds a little more salt to the wound.
I thought South Carolina was the hardest one to swallow outside of Texas game because
South Carolina was good. Auburn's terrible. And we still lost to them.
But you literally had your hands on the quarterback about 13 times, and you had your hands on running.
On the second play of the game, you had a chance for a huge loss.
No sacks, no tackling that game. I think that one was the hardest because it was just a breakdown of pure fundamentals.
Yeah.
All right, guys, we got a minute left. So, baseball-wise, Lampkin gives you 5 innings, 8 strikeouts, just making up a fake number, and you have not the offense you saw yesterday, but a very good offense. If I give you those numbers, you think they win?
It's not enough. Okay. It's not enough. I probably need 6 full out of them.
6 full.
And again, part of this is about today, and the other part about it is got to look forward. You got to be careful about the arms that you're burning. So if Lampkin wants to go out and be a hero again today and throw 100 pitches, that would probably be best case scenario, quite frankly. And if he's still out there, 90, 95 pitches, that means he's doing his job as well. So I'd like to see him go at least 6 full.
I think it's if we can get an early lead like we did yesterday, we don't have to burn him up as much. We can run him again. You go to the bullpen.
Gentlemen, thank you very much.
Thanks, David.
Tomorrow on the program, the baseball bunch guys. We'll chit chat with them. We'll have Billy Lucci. We'll have Olin Buchanan. My thanks to the fan show guys. All of our great guests today. Jake Wimberly was awesome. Jason Howell, great. Olin Buchanan, pretty good. Stephen McGee, pretty good. Thank you so much for watching and listening. We will see you all mañana.